city and state of St. Louis, Missouri. I'm Dan Gehring.
And from America's South Coast, where we're asking, what kind of drug smuggler are you? I'm John G. Dew.
Well, what kind of American are you?
Yes, that's the reference. That's the reference. The second layer of that reference is the fact that Trump is attacking speedboats in the Caribbean, claiming to be killing drug smugglers while pardoning presidents of foreign nations who were also accused of being drug smugglers.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of this kind of narrative this week of, well, how do we know which drug dealers to kill and which to pardon?
Yeah.
And
I think it's funny. I think it's a funny little take on the duality of Donald Trump.
Well, the duality of kind of Donald Trump and like the people, like MAGA too, because there was also people calling for Usha Vance to be sent back to India apparently this week because of what J.D. Vance was saying about immigration. So a lot of that same kind of template is being used in criticism of MAGA this week.
I don't know if you watched it, but I think the dry humor, the dry humorous responses of Nick Fuentes to Piers Morgan are just kind of stuck in my head now.
Yeah.
And there's one part in the interview, and I don't have any clips from the interview. It's really something that you should look at yourself if you're interested. It's kind of there are some clippable moments, but it becomes increasingly unclippable as they yell at one another. It's entertaining throughout, though. But there is one part where Piers Morgan says, "You've referred to Usha Vance as a Jeet. What does that mean?" Nick Fuentes just says, "Well, that's a pejorative for Indians."
Yeah.
Full stop. That's it.
Yeah, the interview is funny. I watched probably the first hour of it today, and I just like the whole, because when they're talking about violent crime and crime rates, Fuentes has Pierce over a barrel. Like over a barrel, and he can't get him to agree on the statistic because the producers whispered something in Pierce's ear. That was the fact, and Fuentes had already kind of dodged it and had said, "All right, this is what we're talking about." And Piers Morgan couldn't respond because he didn't have.
He just
in his
kept
ear.
talking about the same fact
Right.
that had already been addressed.
Right, and Fuentes had already seen it coming, so. It was a funny interview. Again, Nick Fuentes is somebody that is entertaining. He's very intelligent, but whiny, so whiny. But I think he did a good job with Piers Morgan. Morgan, right? That's why I kept getting Pierce. Is it Morgan? Piers Morgan?
Menopause. No. Yes, Piers Morgan.
All right. I thought it was good. I thought it was funny. I didn't get to that Usha Vance part, though.
It is funny, and if you've ever seen Piers' interview with Alex Jones, I think this is the passing of the torch from Alex Jones to Nick Fuentes. I think he's destined to be this kind of edgelord for his career. I don't think he'll ever break into the popular psyche or become a mainstream political figure. And he even says as much where, he says, if I had political aspirations, I wouldn't say a lot of the things that I say, which I think is an astute thing to realize. But, Alex Jones has always been this figure that is on the edge of the political discourse. He says some things that he'll essentially elbow his way into discourse every now and again. And then people will see things from years ago that he said and realize that he was, in his own special way, right about that thing, and give him some due credence. And it kind of, they gain popularity as the Overton window shifts in the general public, because the general public looks back and says, well, wow, this guy was saying this all along, but I wasn't even close to ready to accept it when he was saying it. And that's very much the role I think Fuentes fills. I just think we're seeing him fill it in a different way because of the nature of media now. And, Alex Jones, you would see these clips of Alex Jones, and Fuentes is huge on the clips. He has people pushing out clips of his show constantly. And they're really good. I'm not taking away from the quality or the presentation factor of those clips, but that's the strategy. And I don't know if you kind of see what I'm getting at with this Fuentes filling this Alex Jones role, but that's kind of the way I see it. And I hadn't seen that until I saw him with Piers Morgan. And I remembered the Alex Jones interview with Piers Morgan where, Alex is yelling at he's yelling at Piers that I'm here to tell you that I'm here to tell you there's going to be another 1776 if you try to take our guns, and it clicked for me that that's the role that Fuentes fills. He is that guy. He is the modern Alex Jones, the edgelord that people will continually look back to and say, wow, he was right about these kind of things. But the only difference is that Fuentes is a lot more strictly political and cultural. He's not as conspiratorial, where Jones was very investigative. He very much has and had in the past more so an investigative bend to his presentations.
Yeah.
They're turning the freaking frogs gay. That was all whistleblower stuff from Monsanto, and maybe it wasn't exactly Monsanto, but in that same realm. But I don't think that precludes Fuentes from filling this role on the edge of discourse.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
And I really think they're kind of in two different genres, but I get what you mean, where they're very clippable, and those like quick 15-second hits are going to be shared around, very similar in that regard. So,
I love toward the end, it really gets kind of ridiculous where either, and Fuentes points this out. He says at one point he doesn't think that Piers is stupid. But as the interview goes on, I think he really questions whether or not Piers is stupid or not, because Piers is just leaning. And anytime you come across somebody like Fuentes, it really shows when you lean on old tropes and canned statements, and especially policy statements, because Fuentes is fresh in his ideology. It is something that the people who Piers has had on in the past who can hold a conversation about politics, they're not bringing these things up. So it's kind of the first time Piers has seen someone like this who can attack those old, tired positions. And it really started to show when Piers would either very obtusely misunderstand something that Fuentes was saying, or try to paint it in a way that people would misunderstand it when they heard it.
Right.
And it was just painfully obvious what Fuentes was saying and the distinctions he was making.
And he said as such, he goes, people aren't buying what you're saying. He's like, we're way past that. And it's not the first time Piers Morgan's been spanked like this on his own show. I think Ben Shapiro did it to him years ago. There was a point where he was talking about the dead children at the school shootings. What does it matter to them? And it would have been a great time for Fuentes to say, "You're dancing on the graves of dead children," just to really set Piers Morgan off.
Yeah, it's entertaining though. It's definitely an entertaining interview. I still question. I don't want to get too caught up in the emergence of Fuentes on sort of this more mainstream level, because if you remember, we discussed how in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death, Fuentes seems to be being pushed as a wedge, before midterms, and that doesn't seem to have slowed down.
No, he's definitely gaining a spotlight. You know, to the same vein of he's similar to Alex Jones, the meme of like me at the Thanksgiving table. Like there was so many edits of Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes in that same kind
Yes.
of vine.
Yes.
And I think it is they pushing them forward and saying this is what mainstream conservatism believes or mainstream MAGA believes. So this is what the Trump administration is doing, and it should be noted, and it hasn't been in this like past 2 to 3 month push of Fuentes, is that he's openly critical of Donald Trump, didn't vote for Donald Trump, no longer believes that Donald Trump is America first, and so that kind
Right.
of schism isn't really being promoted because they want to associate Nick Fuentes with Donald Trump and all of MAGA.
Well, but I think the schism is the point, because if you're just learning about Nick Fuentes and you're somewhat disenchanted with Donald Trump and with the Republican Party at the moment, and you hear Fuentes and it clicks for you and you're like, this is my guy, this is what I believe, you're going to probably abstain from any local midterm elections, because you're going to look at what Fuentes is saying, and then you're going to look at what your representative is saying on the record, and you're going to realize that you've got nothing for them. Where in the past, before you had this Fuentes being on the mainstream, you could kind of look past this stuff and say, well, he's a Republican, he's for Donald Trump, and I'm for Donald Trump, so I'm going to vote for him. I think this wedge that is Nick Fuentes is, and again, I said this when we talked about this, I don't think Fuentes is doing this. I think this is an opening of a floodgate from someone who controls the gate, and Fuentes is the water. And the water is eroding the support for Trump.
Nigeria, if you believe the media, is the floodgate control operator. They're saying a bunch of Nigerian accounts are the ones that are pushing Fuentes into the mainstream.
I saw this, and I even saw that Data Republican was pushing this.
Yep.
And I think this is just cheap bait. I think this is essentially throwing red meat to people who are looking for a way to push back against Fuentes. Because basically, peers, no one has really successfully pushed back against Fuentes yet. And that's a problem for people that want to keep the Republican Party together. And peers tried, the human decency angle. Well, you're not a very decent person, therefore you can't represent any kind of conservative movement or Republican movement, and anyone who would side with you is a deplorable, basically. And that just doesn't work. It doesn't work because Fuentes is right. Everyone's tired of being browbeaten.
Right.
They're sick of it. And the more that you browbeat them, the more sick of it they're going to get, and the more spiteful they're going to get. And that's part of Fuentes' personality, is his spitefulness toward this browbeating. And you can see it as Piers is talking. You can see it on Fuentes' face when he's, just viscerally responding to this browbeating that Piers is trying to give him. He's just smirking at it because it's tied, to be frank. And, that whole, you got to be a decent human being, it's not going to work. And you're going to have more people that believe what Fuentes is selling, that decency has actually been used against the conservative movement. To say that, if you aren't decent, then you can't be a part of the movement. You don't care about your nation. Oh, and by the way, being decent means being for mass immigration, reparations, all of these different liberal ideologies.
Yeah, the whole word decency, it is weaponized. And I remember the school shooting that happened in Texas and the NRA convention that was like that weekend after it. And it was like 100 miles away, a different town entirely. And Jake Tapper was like, can't we just have some decency? Can't we be decent and decency? And it loses all sort of meaning of can't you just do what we want you to do and cancel your thing because that's what we view as decent? And I think Fuentes coming out and saying, you know what, I am racist, really took the wind out of Pierce Morgan's
Absolutely.
Because I'm not afraid of that label. That's fine. You can call
Right.
me racist. And that's exactly what he did. And Pierce Morgan went back and was like, well, you can come on my show and say in front of millions of people you're racist. They don't know who you are, but now they know you're racist because you said it. And he was like, yeah, I did.
And also, you kind of hit on it there with your response that Fuentes gives a lot. It's just, you don't have to defend yourself rhetorically when people make these claims. And Fuentes does a really good job of just stating an answer to the question that's provided and leaving it at that.
Right. Half the show is him playing clips of Nick Fuentes, and I'm saying, do you stand by this? And he goes, yeah. All right, well, now I have to tell you why you shouldn't believe that.
Yeah. They'd play a clip and Fuentes would, Piers and his producers are probably like, well, he's probably, because Piers kind of put his cards out on the table early on, and he said, we think you've got these two personalities. One is your show, and the other are these public appearances. So they kind of had that idea and expected him to temper some of these try to temper some of these clips from the show, and that would give Piers ammunition for gotchas.
Right.
And when he, you play one of his clips and he goes, 100% true before it's even done. I would have loved to have had a camera in the control room.
Oh, they lost the trick.
Yeah.
They lost the gotcha. They lost everything, and he didn't give it to him. It is a very entertaining thing. I think Fuentes they've really stepped up this pressure on trying to make Fuentes look bad, specifically on the right with the kind of the pro-Israel movement, and it was super threatening to that. It was when he was on Tucker Carlson because Fuentes came out and was presented, and Tucker Carlson is a boomer whisperer, and it's really worrying because now this message that a lot of the younger kids are following was now presented to the older generations as, maybe we should rethink our relationship with Israel. And that is 5-alarm fire for the religious right. That not Protestant, but there's a specific type of religious right that is very pro-Israel. I can't think of the name right now.
Christian Zionists.
Something like that would work. The Christian Zionists.
Yeah, but, bottom line, it's very entertaining. I don't think Nick Fuentes is going to be anything more than an Alex Jones type figure for the new generation. He'll always be popular. You'll always see clips of him, but him holding political office is about as plausible as Alex Jones holding political office. So, I feel like that's that. Other than this theory that we have that he's being used not against his will, but without his knowledge as a political wedge to create a disaffected youth in the Republican movement so that Democrats can take advantage and flip the House and potentially the Senate in the midterms and make Donald Trump a lame duck.
Yeah. This is where we turn, I think, to polymarkets. I think the House is pretty solidly going to the Dems. But the Senate, they believe, is staying red. We're still a lot of days out. Who will win the House in 2026? We're looking at a 79% chance Democratic Party. Senate. Which party will control the Senate in 2026? 66% Republican. So the people that are putting money on it are feeling good about Republicans in Senate and Democrats in House.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're going to see that Senate figure get a lot closer to 50-50. There's a lot of economy talk over the last few days, Trump's economy and how it's struggling and how he's had to bail out the farmers and yada, yada, yada. And even a bit of a lean in from some media sources into this. Well, he said he was America first, but now he's doing all of these other things for other countries and not for you Americans. So you can kind of feel the dissatisfaction machine cranking up in the media.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Black Friday is not so. You didn't listen to my solo show, but it was pretty much talking about how a lot of the corporate medias were running about how Black Friday deals weren't going to be this good this year because of tariffs and everyone's tightening their belts and whatnot. So, it's going to work. That will work to some degree. And I've noticed it. I just got a thing today. Apparently, I still pay for Netflix, but I got a subscription increase notification that my price for Netflix is going to go up by like $3 a month. So, donate. I want to watch gay trans TV shows.
Guilty pleasures of Dan Gehring.
No, I don't actually watch Netflix. It's all Elise.
Well, you don't really have time to watch anything nowadays.
People, my other friend that just had a baby, he's like, "What shows you guys watching?" I was like, "Watching."
Are you kidding me?
I was like, "Would we have time for that? We're sleeping. We're napping."
Yeah. So you mentioned before the show, and you can listen to the pre-show banter if you listen live every Tuesday at what's the best? Is it stream.mmo.show?
Nailed it. Yep.
Whoa, getting good at it. Yeah, you can listen to this pre-show banter if you tune in a little early every Tuesday to stream.mmo.show. But you had mentioned that the sleep allotment has not really improved as of late.
No, it's not. I'm just getting used to it, getting ready, getting acquainted with sleeping in like 2-hour periods. So
yeah,
it is an adjustment, but I don't know. I think it'll get better. Everyone keeps saying it'll get better eventually, but no one provides a date or time or estimate. There's no poly market on when eventually is.
Well, I'm here to vouch for those people and say they are right. It is an eventuality, but a well. You'll be thankful. You'll be thankful when it comes, and it will come. So yeah, you just got to hang in there. You gotta tough it out. Keep on buying Gigawatt coffee and plugging along.
That's right. I've been drinking Gigawatt. I bought myself too a dry firing system for my gun, so I can. It's called Mantis Laser Academy, so I can dry fire my gun.
I'm familiar with Mantis.
And
so what is it? Just a barrel laser?
It's like it's pretty much you put it's the size of a 9mm bullet. It can be in 38, 45, 40, or 9. And you put it into your barrel, and it's got these, what do you call those? O-rings kind of on there to keep it in your barrel. And then your striker will hit the back of this thing and shine a laser. And you use your smartphone, and it's like recording the shots on a target. And I like part of this hanging on is in the first day I got it, I think I dry fired my gun about 1,000 times. Where I was like any 10 minutes I was probably sending 100 dry fires at a target and working on holster draws and all of this. So part of my it's like people that have this anger and they like hit a punching bag. I'm releasing my stress by dry firing and imagining the time I got to draw on my holster and empty a clip on somebody, hoping it doesn't have to happen, but being ready for it when it does. If it does.
Were you surprised in a positive or negative direction when you got your first feedback on your first clip dump with the dry firing system?
Well, I have a green dot on top of mine, so when you're practicing at about 10, 4 to 5 yards inside your house, you're pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel pretty confident in that, but it's nice because going to the range used to be a big stress reliever for me. Now I don't have that time, so now I can just sit in my office and dry fire at the wall and get feedback that way. It's one of my stress relievers.
I recommend as you get to the point where you are getting a little more sleep, and there are buffer times between when the kids go to sleep and when you and your wife go to sleep, but you still kind of have to be quiet. You know, those kind of, you can't really do everything you want to do, but you have some time by yourself. Find some books. I've read quite a few in the time that I've been a father so far. And, you know, it's also nice that your kids see you reading too. You know, there's some value to that.
Well, they don't actually see right now. They sort of see, but they don't see things. But my little nephew was here. He's like 4, and he found my Switch, which I hadn't touched in years, and he brought it up, and he was playing with it. So I've actually been playing my Switch in between feedings, kind of. Metro 2033, which is you're like post-nuclear in a Russian metro station and battling these nuclear mutant animals, kind of. It's good fun.
Well, that's not like reading at all.
No, it's not. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's brain rot, and it helps my brain shut down.
If I can't sleep, I'll just rot this brain away.
It's not the worst thing in the world. I could be doing meth. That's what I always think.
Yeah, well, you could be.
Yeah.
You could be. Yeah, well, very good. Very good. Everybody's still healthy. I won't say happy because, you know, sleep is plays a major part in happiness, but.
Right. Everyone's healthy. Happiness wavers with the hour. I actually, like, after 7 p.m., I get the Sunday scaries, but it's like every night, and it's after 7 p.m. It's the 7 p.m. scaries. Because it's like, ooh, tonight's not going to go well. I can already feel it.
Yeah, well, again, I all I can tell you is eventually it'll get better.
Good to know.
And you'll have, when it does get better, you'll have two little awesome playmates to roughhouse and teach things to.
Yeah, I fear for Ralph. When they're walking, he's going to be like 8. So
yeah,
that'll be something. But we usually do a show here. You wanna play some clips or something?
Well, there's nothing wrong with a little talk, banter between us. It's not even banter; it's just discussion. You know, I like to check. You know, you're gonna laugh, but I like to ask how you're doing. I like to check in sometimes.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Just we're in our schedule after getting back from the vacation, back in the rut in the best way possible, and you know, just getting ready for Christmas. We're having family here. We went to Taylor's families for Thanksgiving, and they're coming here for Christmas to have Christmas with my family. So it should be a good time. Put up some Christmas lights this week. Went and got a Christmas tree. Which, did you know that there are, how familiar are you with the types of Christmas trees?
I am a little rusty. I need to brush up on my Christmas tree type.
Well, you've got more important things to worry about right now. We have a Christmas tree farm near us that sells cypress Christmas trees.
Ooh. Cypress wood is cool.
Yes, but they're not like what you would think, and I don't know the exact term, but they're not what you would think of as, you know, a cypress that lives on the bank of the river or in the swamp. They're very bushy. They're very full. They make for very full Christmas trees, but they have to be manicured so that they don't grow in the shape that a fir grows, which is your traditional Christmas tree. Right. But they make for a good-looking Christmas tree. My only gripe with them is that they don't have as much of a fragrance as the fir, and that's top of my list. I want to smell the Christmas tree when I pull up in the driveway. that a little bit of an exaggeration, but that's how fragrant I want my Christmas tree to be. The benefit, though, of this cypress tree, I got an 8-foot tree, which is kind of pushed up against the ceiling, which is kind of comical. It's an 8-foot tree. Got it for $65.
That is not bad.
No.
We got a fake tree that's pretty lit and flocked. Our tree is flocked. I can't believe I didn't think of this last week when we were talking about getting flocked. My tree's flocked. Do you know what that is?
No. Is that the fake snow?
Yeah. It's where they spray the asbestos all over it.
Yes. Don't be too rough when you're hanging those ornaments, kids.
That's right. If you wear any sort of fleece, you're effed. You just throw that fleece away. It's never going to be the same. But you can get scent sticks for them. And Elisa's uncle bought us some scent sticks years ago. And, feels like the real deal.
Just trying to emulate what you could get from nature.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's fine. I mean, my folks have a fake tree, but
is it flocked?
No. We're much more classic down here. You're not going to catch anyone around us having a flocked Christmas tree.
Well, to each their own, I suppose.
That's the Italian coming through.
That's right. That means I disagree with your choices, but they're your choices. Okay. Well, that's good. Our trees are flocked. Our trees are up. It's the Christmas season.
Yeah. How many shows do we have left this year? We've got 3.
3? I think
they're around Christmas, which is good. Yeah, okay. 3 shows left this year, which means, we've talked about how Dan isn't getting any sleep, how, I didn't mention that my routine involves, I don't know, like 4 jobs now that I think I'm involved in. This is a labor of love, and we don't run ads, even though we do talk about certain products that you've heard already. We do not accept money to run ads for those products. We just talk. And the only reason we continue to do this is because people like you out there, yes, you listening, send monetary donations and encouraging notes to say, I value what you're doing. So, it's the end of the year. If you've got a little extra money, one of your nieces or nephews was really bad and you don't want to get them anything this year, send some value back to the MMO show. We would greatly appreciate it. It would work wonders for lifting our spirits in this Christmas season. And you can do that by going to mmo.show/donate. Now, Dan, I have quite a bit of domestic sort of political content.
Okay.
Or do you really want to throw this thing on its head and go abroad?
I say let's stay domestic and then go abroad, second half.
Okay. Very good. Well, let's get into this. To kind of stay on the political bend, I want you to go into the ag folder. And the big news politically this week, I say it's big. It's probably the biggest news, but there were several things that happened this week politically. We're still talking about the boats.
Yep.
And I do have a correction to make. Last week, we were joking that the SEAL team went in and killed the survivors of the boat. That's not what happened. Upon further familiarization with the topic, the Navy actually rescued 2 people and repatriated them to Venezuela who survived one of the strikes. But in the strike before that, they struck the boat. People were still alive, so they hit it with another Hellfire missile. And we'll get into the politics of that in a minute. But while we're in a domestic kind of mood, feeling domestic, we should talk about this farm bailout. And I've got a clip here. This is from ABC. It's ABC interviewing the Soybean Farmers of America president. And you're going to hear this guy breathing a lot, but I think it's a good place to start off with this story.
As President Trump shifts his focus to affordability, he has announced a lifeline for American farmers who've been hurt directly by his trade policies. The president now planning to use revenue from tariffs to pay for a $12 billion bailout for farmers. The White House says it will provide much needed relief for farmers as they get this year's harvest to market and look ahead to next year. Joining me for more on this is Caleb Ragland, American Soybean Association president and Kentucky farmer. Caleb, great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
The president said the key, we know that a key reason why so many soybean farmers like yourself are hurting is because the number one buyer of American soybeans, China, stopped buying those soybeans during this trade war with the U.S. What's your reaction to this bailout? Is it a Band-Aid for a problem that really shouldn't exist in the first place?
Well, we certainly have a problem. We're appreciative of this economic bridge that has been announced, but the problem is much bigger than the hole that this will cover. It's kind of is a Band-Aid on a wound, as you mentioned. This will probably cover about a quarter of the $109 loss that soybean farmers are going to average this year on their crop. And we certainly are struggling from the loss of the China market there for several months. They do consume 61% of all soy consumption worldwide and have been about 25% of the market for American soybeans in recent years. Soybeans are our number one export. They're a major part of the economy in rural America. But what we need now is market-based solutions to give us opportunity to increase demand, both domestically and abroad. We have great opportunities now with biofuels that the administration could help with here in the short term that would give us a boost, renewing the renewable volume obligations. All they lack is final approval from the administration and final approval of the 45Z tax credit. That would help us immediately with biofuels here at home. As farmers, we want a level playing field and the opportunity to make a living from the market and not need there to be government aid to fulfill shortfalls. But I will be clear, the shortfall right now is real and it's large, and farm families are hurting, and we're going to lose many farms if we don't find a way to improve the economic viability of our industry.
I love the obligatory market-based solutions. We want market-based solutions. And then the immediate discussion of what the administration could do. This guy, I'm sure he's I'm sure he's a fine fellow. He seems all right. But he doesn't know what a market-based solution is. America's soybean farms probably wouldn't survive in a market-based economy.
Right, it's already subsidized and whatnot.
Yeah, and he used the term economic bridge early on. I would almost guarantee you that comes from a memo from the White House, from the administration. This is an economic bridge. This is what we're calling it. And really, what we'll see in some of these later clips, this is just another bailout for America's industrial agriculture sector in a long line of bailouts for an uncompetitive industry. So it's really nothing new, and it's being touted as an America First move, but in a very I guess I should say, to take the most skeptical view of this, I think this is to try to temper dissatisfaction after the Argentinian bailout that we discussed about a month ago. You recall this credit swap line that we extended to Argentina because Malay was falling behind in polls.
Yep, I recall.
And then you got the discussion about America importing more Argentinian beef as another type of bailout for Argentina. I think you had those two things announced, and the American farmers, specifically the soybean farmers that are, if you listen to the president of the Soybean Farmers Association, they were hurt by Trump's trade war, so they really started to put some pressure on the administration to say, hey, you're bailing out Argentina. What about us? We're going broke here. So I've got another clip from this guy. It's called Deliveries Gap, and it's going to talk a little bit more about this, the disparity between what was expected to be exported to China and what has been exported to China. And then we'll get back into a refresher on the Argentinian bailout.
Okay.
As you say, the shortfall is very real. We know that China did agree to start rebuying soybeans as part of that framework trade deal. Talk to us about how much they've purchased so far. Is it close to at all what they committed to buy? It looks, according to USDA data, like they're still falling well short of the pledge that they made as part of that deal with the president.
Asking a question she knows the answer
Well,
to.
from the numbers that I'm aware of, we're under 3 million metric tons out of the 12 that were promised by the end of December. So we've got a long ways to go and a short time to get there. And that's commitments. It's not deliveries yet as well. So when we can really celebrate is when we get soybeans delivered in China and get paid for them. But we need to make sure that they follow through on the agreements and do it in a timely manner. We don't need to kick the can down the road because our farmers need opportunities in the market and they need cash flow because the cost of production that we're dealing with are higher than ever. And with the current prices, we're just not in a economically sustainable situation. And we need market-based solutions. As I said earlier, we need the market to have strong demand, both domestically and abroad. And that's what we're working for every day. But we need a level playing field to accomplish that. And American farmers are the best in the world. We're going to be doing a great job producing, but we need to make sure that we don't have obstacles that make us uncompetitive in the world market for trade and make sure that we have reasonable regulations and rules so that we can be prosperous here at home as well.
Caleb Ragland, I really appreciate your time and giving us your perspective on all this. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Take care.
And this is very basic, but the problem with opining for a level playing field is that you can't dictate the terms of the game to other sovereign nations that produce soybeans.
Right.
So unless you completely scrap the industrial farm regulatory system, which many companies in the supply chain are dependent on, especially chemical companies, you're not going to get a level playing field, which is why this is such a financial burden on the U.S., this industrial agriculture system that we have. Do I think it would be smart or wise to let it fail? Probably not. But we can't pretend that we're searching for market solutions. I mean, we can. It's what people do every day. But that's just, it's unproductive and it's dumb.
Yeah. I mean, soy is one of those things where you want to ship that to your adversaries because it makes their men more effeminate. There's large amounts of estrogen.
It gives them man boobs.
That's right. And makes them like anime. And
no, that's you're thinking of Japan.
They have an estrogen-based soy problem too. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, it's tofu.
80 years of being emasculated. You know, after Hiroshima, they can't have a very fierce military. We've pumped them full of soy, and give them anime books and bubble time. Don't Google Japanese bubble time. It's something crazy. But you know, that's their level of manliness.
And if you do, don't email us about it.
Right. Japanese bubble time, not condoned by the Millennium Media Offensive.
Okay, so let's revisit this Argentinian bailout. This is my first clip from the newly branded MS Now, which may be the worst rebranding job in the history of media ever.
It should just call itself MS 2000.
We we haven't really discussed this at all, but this is what used to be MSNBC, and now it's MSNOW, MS Now. Yes, if you listen to this, you will get multiple sclerosis now.
MS No One Watches.
No one watches. Media service no one watches.
That's right. Bingo.
Let's do a refresher on the Argentinian bailout.
Here at the largest cattle market in Argentina, the cold, rainy weather did little to dampen business. About 20 or 30% of the cows that are sold at this market go abroad, and nearly all of that goes to China. But everyone here, the sellers, the buyers, they all hope that way more is going to start going to the U.S. Those hopes are now higher than ever, after the U.S. promised to quadruple beef imports from this country known for its grass-fed cattle. Opening up the U.S. market isn't the only help coming from the superpower to the north. These ranchers and traders are also excited about a huge and highly unusual loan of $20 billion straight from the U.S. Treasury to prop up the peso.
That money that the U.S. sent to Argentina creates stability, and I think that this government could stay 4 more years in the next election, and I think to produce in a long term.
That government that Argentina's business elites want to keep in power is the government of Javier Milei, an eccentric TV personality who shocked his way to the presidency in 2023. Milei is a close ally of Donald Trump and an inspiration to many in the MAGA movement. So when, in October, Milei's party faced tough midterms in Congress, Trump, with that $20 billion currency bailout and the promised purchase of Argentinian beef, put the heavy thumb of Uncle Sam on the scale of a foreign election to help out his friend. And it worked. Milei's party came out well ahead of the opposition.
Make Argentina great again. Viva la libertad, carajo!
Now the U.S. is working to find $20 billion more in private funding.
We want to help Argentina. They have great product.
Great product. Argentina, no me llores.
Yeah, you know, it's funny when I do edits like that of just repeating things somebody says, but for an outlet like Media Service No One Watches to do it was a little off-putting when I heard it at first, because they're really not good at it. It didn't really make a point. He said great product. They have great product. So what?
It's their demographic. 45-year-old moms with short hair.
Yeah, there's an art to this, and they don't have the touch. They're taught. They're the taught artist. They're the schooled artists. We're the poverty-stricken artists who actually have the touch for this.
Fair point. Fair point, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, let's hear about the economics of this bailout.
The bailout of Argentina.
For a president who promised to put America first, this massive lifeline to a faraway ally with no clear economic benefit to Americans drew rare criticism from Republicans.
I'm not for giving away money we don't have. It's a terrible economic plan.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the U.S. will profit from the loan.
The government's going to make money.
But many economists are skeptical, given the recipient of the loan is a country that's defaulted on its foreign debt 3 times this century. Loaning $20 billion to Argentina specifically, is that risky for the United States?
It is risky. It's Argentina, after all. Argentina being a country where, as we know, recurrently crises occur. And they will likely continue to occur even with the swap line in place, simply because that is the nature, that is the structure of the economy.
So if that happens again, in this instance, the United States to a significant extent, will be left holding the bag, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Who actually concretely benefits from this deal between the United States and Argentina?
Big investors. Yeah, big investors are the ones that generally benefit when there is a bailout. And that has been the case here as well.
Inside Argentina, Milei's policies have helped control runaway inflation. But many say it remains hard to make ends meet.
En principio me encontraste acá y por eso vengo para abaratar costos.
Ana Noble runs a small restaurant that serves workers for the state TV station, who, like everyone in the public sector, have been hard hit.
Siguen aumentando todas las cosas, los sueldos no, está todo muy parado, despiden muchísima gente, hay muchísima gente desempleada y bueno, entonces es imposible hacer que la economía esté bien.
In Noble's view, the people who win from Trump's bailout of Milei are not regular Americans or regular Argentinians.
Okay. If you notice, there was a bit of a sleight of hand here, and I think it's not really a sleight of hand. It's just a utilization of expectations for what people want to hear. Because if you look at some of the neuro-linguistic programming and neuro-linguistic research, if someone expects to hear something and you tell them something similar but unlike what they expected to hear, they will report that they heard what they expected to hear. So what they do here, they're talking to a woman whose business clients are the state television employees. They say she explicitly serves the employees of state television. And then they say she, like other people in the public sector, have been hit hard. So they're talking to this lady just on the street, and what the listener expects to hear is that this is an everyday Argentinian, this is a member of the private sector, you know, the middle class, the everyday person, and they've been hit hard. But the reality of the report is that she is someone who serves the public sector. And they say as much, but it's presented in the same way you would hear a report talking about how people in the private sector are hit hard and struggling. So it's not really a sleight of hand, but I caught it at first and I was like, wait, I had to back it up to hear, what is this just a lady who has a restaurant? No, it's a lady who has a restaurant who serves employees of the public sector. And, Milei's whole thing was, cutting government spending.
Right.
So, of course, the public sector's been hit hard. That's not a reflection of the greater economy, even though it's presented in a way that your unsuspecting listener might hear that and say, oh, well, the whole economy is just down the drains.
Right. It also plays to Trump's only helping rich people in the United States and rich people in Argentina. Doesn't care about the little man. That's
also,
the message.
The economist that they interviewed, and hear me again, the economist that they interviewed said that crises were a part of the economic structure of Argentina. Am I being peculiar, or is it impossible to actually implement crises as part of the structure of your economy?
I think, I think what they're saying in that is that crises happen so frequently in Argentina. It's almost part of the everyday life for them.
Well, I took issue with it.
Right.
I think it's an unprofessional way to characterize an economy. Anyway, let us continue. This is a fellow named Damian Mason, and he's going to kind of pull the veil back on this bailout, and I wanted to insert the Argentinian bailout in there to sort of insinuate that this seems like whack-a-mole from the administration. We're making money on tariffs, and now we're just playing whack-a-mole, and we're putting out fires all over the place. And Argentina, we were about to lose an ally in Argentina. Can't have that happen. We're trying to have a Western hemispheric.
I got some clips on that.
Superpower right now, so we can't lose an ally in Argentina. Send some money down there. Well, now our farmers are pissed, so send them some money. And I think if that's the case, it should be pretty easy to predict where the next hand will stick out from the pile asking for money. I haven't thought about it too much, but as we go through the show, I think that's what we should have in our mind of if this is whack-a-mole, if this is just putting out fires, what's next?
Importers, exporters.
Helicopter sales. Let's go to Business of Agriculture is the name of this guy's YouTube channel. His name's Damian Mason, and he's going to talk about 3 topics: the pass-through aspect of this bailout, the panic aspect of it, and the perpetuity. He really nails the alliteration. And if this is a low-quality clip, it's because he's walking around outside doing this, so be ready on the dials to kind of make it easier listening as much as you can. And if it's unbearable, it'll be fine.
Okay.
But I think it's a good clip. The first one is pass-through and panic.
While I play that, you just got a little crispy, so if you want to take care of that quickly.
3 thoughts about government payments to farmers. I'm going to talk about pass-through, I'm going to talk about panic, and I'm going to talk about perpetuity. By the time you're watching this video, the President of the United States, along with the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, and Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, are going to have unveiled a $12 billion one-time payment to American farmers. The media is talking about this, saying it's because of trade disruptions that are causing farmers to hurt. Well, the reality is that is not based on trade. As you've heard me say a number of times on this channel, it's because of an oversupply. Globally, we have too much commodity, which is why the prices are where they are, which is below the cost of production. Let's talk about the pass-through. I've heard a lot of people in agriculture say, yeah, but it's not like we're going to keep that money. You know, those trade groups went to Washington, D.C. and lobbied for this. And then also our creditors, the ag lenders groups and the ag input suppliers went there and lobbied for this money. It's not like we're going to keep it, but they give us this payment money. It's just going to go right to them. I got a newsflash for you. I know a lot of folks who work in production agriculture have only endeavored in production agriculture, maybe haven't been in a lot of businesses, but every business faces a similar situation. If money comes in when your economy is down, it doesn't get buried in the backyard in a mayonnaise jar. It gets put back out to those that you pay money for. If you have a small manufacturing business, you're paying your electric bill, you're paying your cost of goods, your raw materials, your warehouse rent, your office space. This is not unique to agriculture. Any monies that come in, of course, go out to those that are your creditors. It's the same situation for everyone. Number 2, let's talk about the panic. I see a lot of media lamenting that all these farms are going bankrupt, and I've recorded an episode about this on my Business of Agriculture with an Ag America lending representative, and we gave you some real numbers. The truth is, and I'm not being mean, I'm an agricultural person. The truth is our bankruptcy rates are actually quite small. There were 93 bankruptcy filings in Q2 of 2025. You annualize that and take it to 400 bankruptcies at American farms out of 1.88 million farms. That is a failure rate of 0.02%. Any other industry would kill for numbers like that. Think about restaurants where almost 20% don't even make it to the first year. A lot of businesses could only look at with envy the bankruptcy rate that happens in agriculture because we are backstopped, which brings up the perpetuity.
And I just cut it off there to give everyone a little break before we go into the perpetuity clip. But I think this is a refreshing take on this bailout talk. And to my earlier point, this isn't a one-time payment. This has happened before. It will happen again. I think the biggest takeaway from this perspective is that farmers aren't expecting to keep this money, and that is a sign of where the industry is, that money, as soon as they get it, is going to have to go out to satisfy their obligations.
Right.
So let's hear about the perpetuity aspect of this.
talked about pass-through, talked about the panic. Let's talk about perpetuity. I'm talking about we have had ag programs that propped up the Farm Bill for quite some time, which is why our bankruptcy rate is actually quite small. Will this continue? This is not a one-time payment. We all know that. There were payments a year ago or 5 years ago or 12 years ago. Really, since the 1980s when we had the farm crisis, we have had a USDA policy of propping up American producers for national security reasons and for cheap food policy. Will this continue? And that means will we have the political clout a decade from now to make sure that we still have a policy that backstops American agriculture? I'll be talking about that in another video. Till next time, I'm Damian Mason coming at you with my trusty hiking companion from the top of the mountain here. I talk all over the country about the world's most important industry at meetings. I also do it so right here online. Thank you for
saying.
I
Is there a little nugget in there or something? Or?
Yeah, no. I just didn't cut it when it should have been cut. Didn't give him the hook.
I remember Farm Aid. Remember Farm Aid concerts and whatnot?
Yeah.
Whatever happened to those? Bring those back.
Farm Aid still happens.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. I haven't heard about it in a long time.
Well, would you go?
Yeah. Depends on who's playing.
Well, I'm going to give you, I don't know if the 2026 lineup has been announced. Farmaid.org.
The lineup. Neil Young, Willie Nelson, John Mellencamp, Dave Matthews, Margot Price. Unpopular, but I do enjoy some Dave Matthews from time to time. And
what
John
do you mean
Mellencamp.
Unpopular?
People within our community, within the MMO community and the larger NA community, do not like Dave Matthews.
Well, that's unfortunate.
I know.
Dave Matthews is probably, and of course you have to, be comfortable around women or have a woman with you, which was the case when I went. That's the sexiest concert I've ever been to.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, if you ever...
Yeah, Dan's like, yeah, that's why I like it.
Plus, there's usually people there that are incredibly high. Like, I don't think... So I never... Whenever a stranger passes me anything, I continue to pass it down. But if you are into smoking random people's marijuana, Dave Matthews Band concerts are the place to be.
Well, that's any jam band.
Right. Well, pretty much. But it's like a constant line there. You're just like, okay, I don't need to smoke it because I'm getting secondhand here. I'm getting flashbacks right now. Just thinking about it.
Back in my bachelor days.
That's right. So yeah, that was an interesting clip that ties both the U.S. and like South America together. So I guess your argument is that this current situation is not due to the tariffs, but more so just how the farming industry has existed.
I mean, fundamentally, it is because of the structure of the industrial farming system. You just make it you make it fragile when it's dependent on government subsidy, and then you have the reliance on a competitor to buy your exports, and that's just you're asking for trouble.
Right.
But I think the larger point that I'm making is to characterize the Trump administration as potentially just running around putting out fires instead of having a measured, tactical approach to this economic situation, whatever it may be that we find ourselves in. And I feel like, there's almost a fog of war about the economy right now. It's not obviously terrible, but it's also not obviously very good either. Markets are up and down. They're really jumpy. I don't think anyone really knows what to think about it right now. And that could be a cautious positivity, or it could also be denial of a much larger negative future ahead. So I've got this. It's not an uneasy feeling about the economy, but I don't like this vague feeling that I have about the economy and that I'm getting from people who are supposed to know what's happening in the economy. And I think it probably comes from a lack of good data from this administration.
Yeah, and then also any sort of coverage of data that does come out. So I just looked at producer price index by industry, bread and bakery, because that's something that we've used as a measure in the past. Post 2020, really in the 21 to 22 or to 24 era, you can see the price of bread going from adding about a fourth, so increasing by 25%. And then late 2024, it's kind of stalled. And then in early 2025, it started to hike up again, not going down, but going up. So I think the same kind of struggles and the pricing that we were talking about that led to Trump's election is definitely still there and exists within the media. So I'm always thinking about it from the general populace perspective. So I think that hasn't been eased in any regard for the vast majority of people.
Yeah, here's a data point for you. This Black Friday, Americans spent 9.1% more than they did last year.
But the deals weren't as good. They didn't buy more, they just spent more. That was the whole narrative.
Yeah. I didn't hear that one. That's a good one.
That was my solo show. I did that, and I did some coverage of South America.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like I really missed out.
You did. It was actually Africa. Sorry, not South America.
What's the difference?
But kind of tying that bailout of Argentina and all this involvement that we have going on in Venezuela, the national, I guess the kind of a national security plan was released this week, and it ties in with the foreign plan as well, or how we kind of are going to manage those. A document was released, and it was highly criticized by Europe.
Ooh, a document.
A document. It was basically laying out the strategy that we were going to be using moving forward with our national security and our foreign policy.
And it just said in 48 font, missiles.
Something along those lines. But the DW had a field day, and it's funny because it feels like in real time we're hearing Europe understanding what's happening to them. So we've long talked about the Tom Luongo theory of regaining control of our dollar, moving from LIBOR to SOFR, which is London Interbank Offertory Rate, to the Secured Overnight Financing Rate. Removing that control from Europe, kind of pushing, no longer subsidizing that European life and pulling it back. And I think Europe is finally starting to realize that it is being left behind, that we're no longer...
The gravy train is over.
The gravy train is over. We're no longer going to pay for your European lifestyle and then have Europe criticize, oh, you Americans, what? This is why you're seeing all these protests, all these government turnovers, all these budget failures in Europe, is because they're no longer getting the free ride from the United States. And it gets highlighted in this document. And what's interesting about this is it's a DW report, and they're talking about it, and they link what U.S. is doing similar to other world powers around the world. And it should be a warning sign for all Europeans if they've not already heard it or felt it. So I'll play this little intro to the segment, and this is with our very favorite DW reporter, Paul. Here we go.
Well, the US's long-awaited national security strategy has been published, and it reveals the Trump White House's vision of America's future in the world. This includes a focus on Latin American relations and immigration, and it questions its future relationship with Europe. The document contains the lines, "Should current trends continue, the continent will be unrecognizable in 20 years or less. As such, it is far from obvious whether certain European countries will have economies and militaries strong enough to remain reliable allies." Let's take a closer look at...
You would think that, and that's kind of the I think the rationale behind it. They do go into the writing. Some guy mentions later in a clip that he would give it a D plus if it was a hit paper, and that it's racist. But effectively, I don't see anything wrong with that opening line, which has been used to chide and criticize it, which is effectively Europe's not going to look like Europe soon. It's not going to be Europe. They're going to be spending too much on these social programs to put anything, noteworthy towards their military. And so it's basically a 5-alarm fire for Ursula von der Leyen and the union as a whole.
Would you admit that you're racist?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. A couple of times. I'll continue.
Let's take a closer look at this rather disturbing document with Catherine Kluver-Ashbrook. She's an expert on U.S. policy and is senior advisor with the Bertelsmann Foundation. Welcome to DW. Sum up for us what we learn about this administration's views on migration and reducing America's global focus.
Well, great to be with you, Phil. I think this strategy really highlights just how this president and this administration sees the world. It's interesting that it makes real some of the things that we have been seeing over the last couple of weeks. You just reported on another strike on a boat outside the Caribbean, the coast of Venezuela, off the Caribbean coast, in that it makes the Western Hemisphere a focus for the United States. And that includes the migration piece, the idea that you have to secure the homeland from unregulated migration, that's a key national security issue, is truly a first for an American national security strategy in the modern era. And the fact that the Western Hemisphere plays so largely in this strategy.
Yes. The entire time they say it, you'll hear over and over again, they'll say 80 years, 80 years, 80 years, replying to the, kind of hearkening back to the New World Order and or the last time the U.S. was acting like this, they acted like this, and then the Nazis popped up. You know what I mean? So it's like it's constantly hearkening back, and you'll hear this 80 years in the clip as it continues.
And we've seen it, of course, not just with the administration's plans for Venezuela, but also in its rebuke of the Colombian president, in its financial aid to the Argentinian administration, in its meddling, at least verbally, in the election in Honduras, in the tariff ricochet games with Brazil. The United States is asserting a much larger control operator role in Latin America, and that extends then by way of sort of the wider Western Hemisphere to wanting to exert more control, of course, over Mexico and Canada. And to make that clear is, in that sense, a novelty. We've all been suspecting it, but it makes clear that this administration believes in this idea of spheres of influence and sets itself alongside other powers which control spheres of influence, i.e. Russia's attempt to control the Eurasian continent, and then, of course, China to control Asia. So those are the key components there. Right. And then, of course, the European questions are particularly pernicious for European allies.
Yes. So they've pointed out correctly the sphere of influence, kind of the Western Hemisphere control that Trump has, and relates it to how China wants to control Asia, and Russia kind of wants to control its old Soviet satellite states of Belarus, Ukraine, that kind of stuff. And what's funny is that the many years of playing Risk as a child are hearkening back here, where it is damn near impossible to hold on to Europe if you start in Europe and try to wig your way out, because you can get attacked from north, south, east, and west, where it's much easier to start in, say, the United States or South America and defend it. And in a sense, basically, we're saying Europe is you're on your own. We're no longer going to be. We're going to try to be allies with you. Obviously, you're not going to link up with China or Russia right away. But our sphere of influence immediately is this Western Hemisphere, and this is the area that we're going to control. And so that's why you see such concerted effort to hold on to Milei in Argentina, get rid of Maduro in Venezuela, and cultivate ties with these South American leaders so we can have that control and keep China and Russia out of our backyard. And it's one of the reasons why you're also seeing all these stories coming out of Africa, because Africa is effectively the new frontier where we're battling between Russian and American influence and Chinese influence.
It's the undecided sphere.
Exactly. And so we got more news out of Africa this week as well. But the reason I brought this is because it is domestic based, but it's funny because it's almost Europe's reaction to this domestic strategy, and they're learning in real time that they're getting cut out of the sweetheart deal entirely. They're done. And so
they're an expensive protectorate.
Exactly. And we funded them for so long, and the gravy train is over, like you said. So.
Well, I have if that kind of concludes the clips you have from that segment on DW.
I've got 4 more or 3 more.
Yeah. Well, please, stop with the pregnant pauses and play some clips.
Here we go. Divorcing Europe.
And we'll come to that, but just to finish on this notion of spheres of influence, the corollary to this is ours and that's yours is Russia, China, you do your thing over there, and we'll do our thing over here, but you stay out.
Well, that's absolutely the case. And if you look at the 28-point peace plan, quote unquote, that the Russians and the United States co-presented before it was heavily edited by the Europeans in Geneva and Abu Dhabi and elsewhere in these ongoing negotiations, that seemed like a divorce plan toward the Europeans, which is to say that we want to bring Russia back into the fold of the great economies. By the way, none of this is new. None of these are new plans for the Trump administration. Donald Trump wanted Russia to rejoin the G7, to become the G8 in the first Trump administration. He's been eyeing, and by the way, the reindustrialization strategy makes an appearance in the national security strategy, that Russia become a massive market for American industrial goods, so that there's a new kind of relationship there. But he is retreating from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, at least in practice, and then narrowing down and sort of really putting his focus on changing the mainstream centrist political forces in Europe, and announcing that the United States will do more to influence that kind of change. That is a wholesale break with American foreign policy of the last 80 years.
The last 80 years. What happened 80 years ago? The Nazis. The Nazis happened. So you keep getting this callback to that history. But what they're saying effectively is the sphere of influence, and she's talking about this horrible idea that we somehow bring Russia back into the fold. We no longer have them as this ostracized country, but open them up for trade and for other stuff. So they're no longer an enemy, but an ally. We're talking John Mearsheimer politics here, and they're not quite understanding it because John Mearsheimer broke it down, and this was probably 150 episodes ago, if not more so. But he was talking about 19th century power politics versus the 21st century diplomatic politics, on how the West and Europe just completely misunderstand Vladimir Putin because he's operating on that 19th century power politics. And this is Trump playing the 19th century power politics, and Russia and China understand and are actually cooperating, at least is the case with Venezuela, where they used to supply a lot of aid and a lot of trade with Venezuela, and they've effectively stopped.
Which is why you got the news a week or so ago about Maduro actually talking to Trump and trying to come to an agreement.
Exactly. So they've stopped. And so this is the 19th century politics that John Mearsheimer laid out back in 2014 after the Russians took Crimea, happening now in real time. And so he's eventually right. And so what's great is these world views and these kind of views of like Tom Luongo's Europe theory and John Mearsheimer's view of how Russia operates. They're all kind of coming together and proving these guys right. They're correct at the end of the day. And Europe is slowly waking up to this fact. And I think they're freaking out a little bit. And you can hear it in like the news anchors and things because they're going on about it. And so the only last hope that they have is we have to try to make Trump a pariah on the national stage. And so now all these international outlets are talking about all these effective wars that Trump stopped have essentially kicked up again this week. I don't know if you saw the Rwanda and the Congo or Thailand and Cambodia, which we can talk about later.
Yeah, I was thinking Thailand and Cambodia.
Both of those have kicked up again. And so it was like Trump giving the thumbs up on all these European outlets about these wars that he solved that he didn't really solve. And I think at the time we said, very shaky ground. He just wanted to get a W on paper and talk about it. So, they're coming back around. But it's just kind of funny because everything that we've been talking about over the past 4 years is coming to fruition right in front of our eyes right now, as far as geopolitics and how it works. So I think there's going to be some very interesting poly markets coming up and probably pretty good ways to make money. Somebody actually sent an email that we donate, or we not donate, but bet like $10. Once poly market goes week, we make a $10 bet every week and see if it pays off.
That'd be interesting because there's enough things that we disagree on that we could have some fun with that.
I agree.
I think we should do it.
I'm with it. I think it was I can't remember who said it. Somebody did. I don't want to dox them. I can only think of their first name right now.
So we've got to determine our timeline. Do we do one bet at a time, or do every 2 episodes we alternate who gets to pick the bet, and
I don't think we have to have
both
hard and soft. I mean, if we have a bet and we're pretty sure on it, I don't think one of us needs to bet one way or the other. I think.
Yeah, but I'm thinking on the video feed having like a poly market, current poly market bet, and having it, our selections on the video feed, just as a kind of a conversation starter or something. Anyway, we can. I don't want to say we can workshop it because I actually like this. But yes, we
won't put it in the workshop garbage bin.
The workshop is where things go to die.
That's pretty much accurate. I'll continue. So the Trump administration does have an ally, and so they talk about kind of the ADF, which is pretty much Al Qaeda of Europe, according to the mainstream media of Europe, and conspiracy theories in this next clip.
Wow, you're racing ahead of me because that was my next question on here on
get a hold of yourself.
Europe, where on the one hand he says, well, yeah, you do your thing, but on the other hand he says, but we'll be doing our thing with you as well politically. And so this is there are a lot of far-right groups in Europe that are going to be very heartened by this.
Oh, yes, and they've been doing all of their bidding in Washington over the last weeks and months. Nigel Farage, the head of Reform UK, has been to Washington a couple of times. There were far-right anti-abortion organizations who paid for his trip to speak in front of the American Congress. Senior figures in the German Alternative for Germany have been not only in the Eisenhower office building, but speaking specifically to the colleagues who drafted this national security strategy, which is to say that they underscored that there is very little freedom of speech in Europe. None of these things, by the way, are true or have any echo in actual reality. But the point of the matter is that this is an ideological bridge that's being built between some of the most extremist parties on the European continent, some of which who internal and, by the way, external intelligence agencies have seen as threats to democracy. And the fact that the greatest, largest constitutional democracy still in existence that wants to celebrate its 250th anniversary of its own democratic founding next year is now shouldering up to those kind of forces in Europe, saying that Europe needs to be rethought, introducing ideas of the great replacement theory, a conspiracy theory which has been entirely debunked.
No.
To a national security strategy. Again, Phil, that is a break with 80 years of American foreign policy.
There it is again, 80 years of American foreign policy. The New World Order, which has been so great, hasn't it?
For Europe.
The foreign policy that has led us here today to this political situation, that is what they're trying to preserve and say it was great. There were some good times, not gonna lie. There were some great times, but the times have come to an end. Not all the times, maybe all time has come to an end, but there's got to be a change of pace. And they're saying effectively, and I think one of the reasons I keep hearkening back to that 80 years of domestic policy is effectively the rise of the Fourth Reich in Donald Trump. I think that is an allegory that they're trying to tickle. They're not trying to outwardly say it, but they're trying to create that imagery in your head for the more astute
Yes,
listeners.
American taxpayer dollars have ensured stability in Europe.
Right. And now they have gone away. And we're going to place our investments elsewhere. In
and
locking
guess
down our
what? The EU is centered in Germany. Good luck.
Right. Right. So it'll be interesting. Maybe Ursula von der Leyen will start wearing the Hugo Boss uniforms again.
The pantsuit empire cometh.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it would be good, but this idea now that you're going to try to create this strong EU, we talked about the federalizing of EU and the EU army that they want to create. They just don't have the cohesion or the chutzpah to get it done. And everyone sees it, the writing on the wall. Europe is dying. That's unfortunate. But no one's coming to save them. They have no place to turn, is how they feel right now. So, yeah, they became, much like it's like the farming industry. They became reliant on government handouts, the American government handouts, and now no one wants to buy their soybeans.
Right, and Europe as a welfare state is dying.
Yep.
And we're in the very early stages, so I wouldn't put a bet on Polymarket that, we see collapses in Europe in the next year or two even. But these are the very early stages of something that will happen. And your choices are you either turn inward and you clean up your nation so that you can be efficient and competitive in the global market when you don't have the backstop of the U.S. taxpayer, or you continue to try to implement the old model and you succumb to mass migration, to put it very crassly.
I think they're rolling the dice and holding their breath till 2028, hoping for a better outcome before then. New president. Hoping for President Gavin Newsom. That's Europe's best bet right now.
Okay, well let's focus in a little bit on some things that are happening in the Eurosphere, and let's talk about something going on in the UK, shall we?
Okay.
This first clip is an Ask Dan. I want you to listen to this, and it's kind of vague, but kind of purposefully vague. And I want you to try to guess from listening to this, and you can stop it and answer at any time, what change in the UK legal system is being referenced here?
Okay.
I think it's an incredibly poor reaction to what I accept is a very serious problem, to change a fundamental principle of English justice, that lay people have an important part to play in the application of the criminal law and the determination of whether someone is guilty or not, which could have serious consequences for either the defendant or the principal complainant, is a departure that I don't believe is justified by the present circumstances.
And as you're talking there, we've learned that ministers have been briefed on the potential changes to the justice system. So it sounds like more than a rumour. We could well get an announcement at some point about that as well. You do say, though, there is a tremendous problem, well, not just in the courts, in the criminal justice system more widely. We've seen the situation with prisons being too full and what the government has done in regards to that. So, something clearly has to give. What else could they do?
So criminal justice reform with jail. I don't know. Is it something to do with immigration?
No, but to tie it to the last segment, this is a domino in the succumbing to mass migration, that outcome. This is the UK knocking over another one of those dominoes. They're proposing to do away with the right to a jury trial for any offense that could land you in jail for less than 3 years.
What? What? So you just go straight to jail?
You are judged by a magistrate.
Wow, it's like that Parks and Rec clip when the Venezuelans visit. Remember that? Straight to jail. You overcook chicken, straight to jail. Undercooked fish, straight to jail.
So let's hear a little bit about some of the reports and proposals that have been flying around this.
Okay.
Well, you're right. There are major crises in our criminal justice system. The government's initial response was to commission various reports. So we had David Gauke's report looking at the overcrowding in prisons, and we had Sir Brian Leveson, who is currently still in the process of preparing his report. He's already provided part 1, and he came up with the idea of the Crown Court Bench Division, which would have taken jury trials at the lower end of those cases appearing in the Crown Court, taken the juries away from those and put them in the hands of a judge and 2 magistrates. Now, we felt that that was a very uncomfortable compromise, but one that was just about justified because of the challenges we face. That hasn't been tried. We have no clear evidence of the benefits of judge-only trials on the backlogs. And this is such a fundamental departure from our justice system and the way that we've done justice in this country for hundreds of years, that to do so without a firm basis is worrying. To take away people's rights in this way is truly alarming. And again, I say not justified by the crisis, when many of the measures that have been proposed by Sir Brian in part 1 of his report have not even been responded to by the government, let alone tried.
So they have an issue of overpopulation in jail.
Yeah.
And one of the solutions is...
Too many mean social media posts.
Exactly. One of the solutions is to have no jury trial and just sentence people straight to jail if it's less than 3 years.
Yeah, which is going to result in more crowding.
Yeah.
Because the judge's job, the judge's role is going to be to find people guilty, because the justice system benefits from people in the justice system. This is so easy. This is too easy.
Maybe those Purge movies were onto something, you know?
Okay, let's continue with potential challenges and responses. What do you think? What do you think could be some potential challenges and responses to this?
I don't know. You just heard a clip where they lamented the 80 years of foreign policy out the window. Potentially the hundreds of years of legal English law out the window with this change.
Oh, well, Hitler can't come to power if he's in jail. Oh, wait.
That's right. It's a good time to write books, I think. Yeah.
Look, as you rightly point out, this would have to progress through the Palace of Westminster. This would have to get approval at several levels, not least the Lords, where we heard John Craig, my colleague, say earlier on that plenty of former lawyers sit, so they would no doubt have a view on this. If it did progress, do you think then there would then be more... Like, it would likely cause more court action, not necessarily the criminal type, but certainly more people appealing things if this was to happen? There'd be test cases and the like.
If they change it as a matter of primary legislation, then of course that's not challengeable in the courts. And I think it's fair to say that the issue of jury trial has been looked at as to whether or not it contravenes the right to a fair trial. So I don't think there are judicial challenges to a primary legislative move by the government to take away those rights. But there will undoubtedly be an outcry, I suspect, not just from those who have experience of the criminal justice system, working within it, both as members of the judiciary and as practitioners, but from many members of the public too, who will see this as a very alarming move away from rights that they have enjoyed and have applied to the way in which we apply our criminal law in this country for hundreds of years, giving us a reputation across the world of having a gold standard criminal justice system.
Yes.
And this is such a fundamental change that this risks undermining that reputation.
So they give their country away to Pakistan and India and other Middle Eastern countries.
And they expect it to be plug and play.
They become a little bit too stabby for their liking, literally. The jails are now overflowing, and the solution is lose your right to a trial.
Well, not because of the stabbings, but because of the mean social media posts about the stabbings.
Yeah, they take away your right to free speech. I forgot to add that in my list of things that they've taken from the English. At least you can still put beans on toast.
Okay. You know, the only thing, and I'm going to skip one clip here, the only thing that makes me skeptical of whether this is as much of an issue as it could be, because if they really do away with the right to a jury trial, I mean, come on, guys. It's pretty much over.
Europe is the bastion of democracy. As America falls way to dictators and right-wing conspiracy theories, Europe and England, they're really doing the hard work and saying, you know what? Your fair trial, no more.
Yeah, to be fair, there is an element of this already in the American justice system where if you have a public defender, especially if you're young and dumb, not speaking from personal experience or anything, but you will, that public defender, or by default, you basically waive your right to a jury. You basically have to request a jury trial for lower misdemeanors and whatnots. But we're not talking about jail time with those. We're talking about, not things that you aren't going to go to jail for on your first offense anyway. So we're going to skip one. The only thing that makes me skeptical of this, and you know how we kind of have this cycle in the media where you'll hear about something that sounds like a big problem, and then you find out that there's a budgetary meeting coming up, and it was just being touted as a problem to secure financing in the government earmarks.
Yeah.
I think there's an element of this. This is the budgetary timing element clip.
The timing of this could be construed as interesting, right? We are the evening before a budget. You're talking about the criminal justice system needing more money. Do you suspect that behind the scenes there's been a discussion and there just is no more money, so they're going to have to do something else?
I think that's a level of speculation on which I'm not particularly well informed to be able to comment. There is unquestionably a need for investment in the criminal justice system. Where the politics of that lies between the Ministry of Justice and the Treasury, I don't know. What I do know is that for the last 30 years, it has always come down against investment in the criminal justice system, and the Treasury have withheld significant investment that's needed in the past. But what's being said at present, I actually don't know.
Yeah, liberal democracy is liberal until the money runs out.
Right. Then it's we got to make some budgetary cuts. Your freedoms are the first to go. That's insane.
Yeah.
Cottington points out we still have guns, which is amen to that, brother, when talking about the U.S. versus England.
Okay. On the topic of immigration, I have some immigration clips. This is a local clip from WCCO Minnesota in the immigration folder about Operation Metro Surge.
New developments this morning in the immigration crackdown that's currently underway in our state.
The Department of Homeland Security says it's arresting, quote, worst of the worst and sharing those latest numbers. We want to check in with our Shayla Reeves, who joins us now following the latest developments. Shayla?
Yeah, good morning to you, AJ and Heather. We learned since launching Operation Metro Surge on Monday, DHS has detained 12 people, actually arrested 12 people. This is a video captured courtesy of Minnesota Public Radio News. It shows Homeland Security agents detaining this man on Thursday afternoon. It happened at a home near Lake Street and Park Avenue. NPR reports the agents questioned the man and eventually left without taking him into custody. ICE has not responded to questions about the operation. And at Ola Arepa, employees say 2 plainclothes individuals entered the restaurant Wednesday saying they were with the Department of Homeland Security. We're told the general manager refused to let them inside the kitchen area and she asked to see a warrant. That's when the men told her they would be waiting outside for the individual they were looking to apprehend. Ola Arepa closed early that night and escorted employees to their cars.
Naomi and all of our staff, just like they did everything exactly how we would have wanted them to. They stayed calm. They knew their rights. They were, they recorded. They didn't let them in. They didn't crumble.
WCCO reached out to ICE for comment but has not heard back. The National Immigration Law Center says ICE needs a judicial warrant to enter a private area of a business without permission. We know that yesterday marked the second day of targeting Somalis, undocumented Somalis, in the Twin Cities. Coming up here in the next half hour, we'll see how the community is coming together to show support for Somali Minnesotans. That's coming up straight ahead in the next half hour. Heather and AJ.
12 arrests so far here. Shayla, thank you.
It's like the woman, again, this must have been my prior show where she said they were targeting, or not targeting, attacking. ICE was attacking these folks outside of Home Depots. So it's like the verbiage of enforcing the law is
yes, framing it as fascism.
Yep. I was going 85 in a 40, and the cop attacked me and gave me a ticket.
Yes, they attack. So let's continue with a Somali Republican's perspective.
Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country.
Those controversial comments coming from the president, they are changing some Minnesotans' minds, including a man who first
love that they've destroyed our country. His commentary on any troublesome ethnic group has become the backbone of our country bit from the campaign.
Well, yeah. It is kind of funny, but because he keeps doing it. But we got an email actually from Emily the Fed, and she said she had a coworker who is African-born, first generation, and it was this clip exactly. And she said she took offense to Trump comments, and she's not a leftist, and she wasn't going to argue. And she said she just kind of thinks he's trolling, but she just doesn't want to. She's getting frustrated over those comments, that kind of stuff, like owning the libs type stuff.
It's just unnecessary.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting from a place of fragility or wanting Trump to be more decent. But it's just, what good does that do? Obviously, that the last administration allowed a major contingent of Somalis to immigrate legally. So you're really just walking into a firestorm of allowing yourself to not only be framed in a way that makes you unpopular to people who would consider supporting you or have supported you in the past, but you also just sound stupid. Somalis haven't ruined our country.
Liberal policies have.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a very concentrated area where you have this Somali immigration. So why not talk about that and the policies that led to this and use it as a case for why we can't have this kind of immigration? Because it just, even legal immigration of this type and magnitude begets illegal immigration and fraud, because this is where we're seeing the Medicare fraud that we talked about last week.
Right.
But instead, Somalis are ruining our country. Okay, yeah. I got a lot of Somalis down here where I'm at, ruining my country. Yeah, thanks. That's great.
Are they eating the dogs, though, like the Haitians? Shout out to Bully Steed for that in the chat.
Okay, let's continue.
Those controversial comments coming from the president, they are changing some Minnesotans' minds, including a man who first came to the United States from Somalia in 2009.
So last year, he didn't just vote for President Trump. He helped get his neighbors to the polls so they could vote for him, too. But as Connor White reports, he's now changing his tune.
From Rochester to Duluth.
On the campaign trail in Minnesota last summer, President Donald Trump caught the attention of this man. Salman Fiki had a front row seat for the St. Cloud rally. He says he got the call from the president's team to help drum up support for the Republican ahead of Election Day.
Economic issues, safety issues, education issues.
Fiki, a Somali immigrant, says he is proud to support conservative policies, but says his support for the president is now gone.
Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country.
This is President Donald Trump doubling down, continuing to attack the entire Somali community in Minnesota, the vast majority of whom are U.S. citizens. CBS News reports that this week, ICE is launching an operation specifically targeting Somali people.
Dehumanizing and very demeaning rhetoric.
You described this as a betrayal, but did you not expect President Donald Trump to talk this way about the Somali community, given his history, given his policies?
Well, actually, we believe in second chances.
That benefit of the doubt, coupled with some Muslim communities becoming disillusioned with how the Biden administration handled the war in Gaza, gave the GOP new inroads in the Somali community in 2024. Data from the Minnesota Secretary of State shows that in strong Somali neighborhoods like Cedar Riverside and Minneapolis, Trump's performance improved by 5 percentage points. Fiki believes that goodwill is now lost for the GOP.
Oh no, we've lost Fiki. We've lost Fiki.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Yeah. I mean, Somalia is not, I mean, he could have been a little nicer about it, but Somalia is not a great country. You don't see a lot of people saying, I'm going to move to Somalia because I hear great things about it. I hear their tire fires are lovely.
Yeah, put a marker down right there. Yeah, I mean, my issue isn't with the facts of the matter or Trump stating what he's claiming about Somalis, whether it be their country or their effect on our country as a whole. It's just, why? Why you it appears counterproductive. It feels counterproductive.
It is, and that's what Emily the Fed kind of points out. Like, I'm done arguing the stupid shit that he says. He's just dumb. You know, I think it's the whole vibe. It's one of the reasons why people like the Congresswoman, what's her name, the crazy lady, Megan something. MGK or MGC or
the one who said she was resigning?
Yeah. It's like the same realm as to what she was talking about, but this is just on a different level.
MTG. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, I always get her with Machine Gun Kelly, who I've never actually heard one of his songs, but I just have heard his name so much. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, it's the same vibe. How is this helpful to anything?
Yeah. It's not. It's not. And you know, you can get some satisfaction out of owning the libs by, you know, saying that Somalis are ruining the country and that their country stinks.
Which is factually true.
Yeah,
it reeks.
Okay.
I can smell it from here. But yeah, it doesn't help anyone.
Okay, well let's continue on with a little domestic news coverage, and then I'll be ready to take a small break and thank some people after this one. So get your segue ready. Several clips here, but one more topic, unless you have something you want to work in. Let's talk about SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
Okay.
And the first, I've got my presentation here is one set of clips from a blue state, one set of clips from a red state, and then in the middle, we're going to, well, actually, no. Yeah, it's one set from blue state, one set from a red state. So first, let's do Michigan. Michigan SNAP benefits fight. This is from local WWMT.
We have begun and will begin to stop moving federal funds into those states until they comply.
Now tonight, comments from USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins there. Rollins praised President Trump and moves that his team is making to cut back on fraud. This all centers around SNAP benefits. The Trump administration is threatening to withhold funding for blue states, Democratic-leaning states, that means, of course, that refuse to hand over personal data for SNAP users. But some of those states are pushing back tonight, including Michigan. News Channel 3's Princess Johnny Steverson is live in Kalamazoo. And Princess, this back and forth makes it even more difficult for food pantries to plan. And you also spoke to one of our local lawmakers who says this isn't about SNAP, it's about data security.
Andy, Michigan's governor, our Secretary of State, the Attorney General, they're all Democrats, which means that Michigan is one of the states that could be at risk for losing its SNAP benefits as early as next week.
Wait. They're all Democrats, which means they could be at risk for losing their SNAP benefits. That implies that the Trump administration is targeting blue states, Democrat-run states, and telling them and them alone, we're going to take away your SNAP benefits. That's false.
It's the narrative. Vindictive.
Was that the end of that clip?
Yep.
Okay, let's hear about a food pantry in Michigan.
Today, I sat down with State Representative Julie Rogers and a local food pantry who tell me they're concerned for Michiganders, but no matter what, they are prepared to serve their community.
Oh, good.
At the First Presbyterian Church of Richland, volunteers are stocking shelves and preparing for what could be a harder winter if Michigan loses SNAP funding. The pantry partners with Kalamazoo Loaves and Fishes, which, like many food assistance networks, has seen demand rise.
We went from handling about 20 households per week last year up to about 38, I think it is, this year.
Having already expanded hours and community resources for those who may have been working or in school during daylight hours, Goebbels says he and his team are ready to do it again if federal funding is cut.
Okay. Sounds like they'll be in good shape.
Okay. Let's move on from the food pantry. And at the food pantry point is that there are, we had this discussion about USAID and how when USAID was cut, a lot of this money that was going out to these organizations that do advocacy and aid work would suffer and have to reorganize. I think this is very similar. These are organizations, while they may do much better work than the USAID affiliated organizations did, this is more federal reliance. Or there's another possibility. The possibility is that these food pantries and local organizations are just going to have more demand, which I think is probably the correct answer here. And in that case, there's not much of a tie with USAID. But I was thinking about it in that way when I heard that clip. So let's do this state representative from Michigan claiming that, well, this isn't about anything but data privacy.
I'm sorry, what?
This is a state representative saying that this is all about data privacy.
Perfect.
I represent around 91,000 residents in Kalamazoo, and 15,000 are on SNAP benefits. Before this new policy, there was a thing called Medicaid work requirements. So it's been a topic of conversation for several years. It has never been a conversation to feed people.
The Trump administration says the funding threat is about fighting fraud.
When we found 186,000 dead people's Social Security numbers being used, we had a couple of people receiving benefits in 6 states. We asked for all the states for the first time to turn over their data to the federal government to let the USDA partner with them to root out this fraud.
But State Representative Julie Rogers says Michigan has been required to submit certain pieces of information for SNAP assistance all along.
What gives me pause is this new wrinkle about Social Security numbers. And we all are very aware, we all probably know someone that has had their personal identity, personal information stolen. Data privacy is once again on the chopping block.
On the chopping block.
Yeah, so this is a very lame attempt to say that this pushback against federal requests is anything more than we're not doing this because it's Trump.
Right. Even though that data is probably already readily available to most people. The federal government
that's the
included.
thing. The marginal effect of your data security as a SNAP recipient is going to be largely unchanged if the state shares this data with the federal government. Now, two things can be true at once. Should a state bend the knee to every request that the federal government makes, and should states make an attempt? Well, first of all, no. States shouldn't. And should states make an attempt to buffet the federal, is that the right word? To buffer the federal government any chance they get? Yes. But when you're completely reliant on federal dollars, you can't do that. And Democrats like to role play as states' rights advocates whenever there's a president they don't like. And they're just being brats. If it was the Obama administration or the Joe Biden administration asking them for this data, they would serve it up on a platter with a shrimp cocktail.
States' rights to other people's money.
Yeah. So let's hear a little bit more about these Democrat states pushing back, standing up for states' rights, you know.
Michigan is one of several Democratic-led states pushing back, with leaders questioning whether the federal government can legally withhold SNAP dollars based on political disagreements.
Our state has been a leader in joining multiple lawsuits against the federal administration. We've won quite a few of those lawsuits over the last year, and so we're just waiting to see how this plays out in court.
Back at the pantry, volunteers say regardless of what happens in Washington, the help here will not disappear.
I'm confident that we will stay open regardless of what happens at a federal level.
Perfect. That guy is good to go. Again.
So, we've got the blue state. Now let's do the red state. Let's go to Oklahoma. Oklahoma SNAP work requirements. This is from KFOR.
K4.
Well, thousands of Oklahomans are now scrambling to understand the new work requirements for SNAP, or what we used to call food stamps. In order to get money to buy groceries, many adults must now either work, volunteer, or attend job training for 80 hours a month. As News 4's Tanner De Leon reports,
80 hours a month? Oh, no.
The new rules are worrisome for those organizations trying to help SNAP benefits follow the new guidelines. Tanner?
Well, these organizations that I talked to say the new requirements will not only put a strain on thousands of families, but also themselves.
There's so much confusion around it.
Chris Bernard, CEO of Hunger Free Oklahoma, says the Trump administration's new work requirements for SNAP were not well relayed, confusing many recipients and involved organizations.
We're concerned for our clients' sake. We're also concerned for our operational capabilities.
Before, the requirement only applied to able-bodied adults 18 to 54 without kids. Now it applies to those 18 to 64, including anyone with dependents older than 14. And if you don't follow the new work guidelines, you don't get benefits.
There are a lot of reasons
Wow,
that make
so
it difficult
complicated.
for people, especially in that age range, to perform 80 hours of work in order to keep their SNAP benefits.
Katie LaFell with Skyline is worried for her clients, as well as the nonprofit's ability to provide food to those in need.
It means that we have to secure more food, that we have to serve more people, and it's a capacity issue for our system.
There you go.
She also fears they won't be able to offer enough volunteer opportunities for everyone to meet the new requirement of 80 hours a month.
So if we have thousands and thousands of Oklahomans that are falling into this new work requirement category, we don't have the spots to provide the volunteer hours needed for them to keep their benefits. I know that every nonprofit's going to deal with that in different ways.
Well, I imagine there'll be a lot more Uber Eats drivers available.
You know, I think we should offer a volunteer position here at MMO for someone who is a dependent on SNAP. We should, and I don't know how serious I am about this. I don't know any of the implications of doing this, but you volunteer 80 hours a month, send us clips and articles and presentations and do some of the legwork here, and we'll vouch saying you volunteered for 80 hours a month and you get your SNAP benefits. It seems like a win-win.
Yeah, well, I'll even double count your hours. I don't care. 40 hours a month would be.
Well, you probably shouldn't have said that.
Well, it depends. There's hours where you're just filling the clock, and then there's hours where you're probably getting more work done than less. So, fudge the time clock a little bit. No one has to know.
All right. Well, let's get this last clip out of the way here in Snap, and let's hear about the tracking and error rate in this.
There are also a lot of questions about how the state will keep track of all SNAP recipients' hours to ensure they are complying with the work requirement.
DHS is going to have to tell people how to document that. Then they're going to have to figure out how to, train the local food pantry or wherever they like to volunteer to document that if they meet that requirement.
We first asked DHS on Wednesday what their plan is. They didn't tell us how they plan to document everything, but said it would not be easy, as nearly 43,000 more Oklahomans will be required to show proof of employment to receive SNAP benefits, which now includes veterans, the homeless, and young adults aging out of foster care who used to be exempt from these work requirements but are not anymore. The Trump administration implemented these changes to cut costs. Included in their plan is a cost share with the states based on a state's error rate.
When people are issued too many benefits or not enough, it's calculated into an error rate based on a sample the USDA takes. Currently, Oklahoma sits at a 15% cost share. So 15% cost share for us in SNAP benefits is close to $200 million.
Meaning if Oklahoma doesn't improve, they will have to pay that back to the federal government or opt out of SNAP altogether.
The goal should be for all the states to be at 0%. That's not actually what the goal was, right? The goal assumed many states would fail and therefore they would save money.
And something else that's new, Native Americans and members of federally recognized tribes are now exempt from those work requirements.
Hey, some good news.
That's right. Sorry about that whole Trail of Tears thing.
You don't have to volunteer or work.
Right. So annually, Oklahoma is receiving $1.3 billion. Oklahoma, one of 50 states, is receiving $1.3 billion in SNAP benefits.
That math seems to check out. Just
according to
thinking
the 20 million, or is it 200 million error rate at 15%?
Yeah,
that's 1.3 billion. Wow. And that's one of 50. So I can imagine that you could probably multiply that number comfortably by about 50.
What was your number?
I had 15% was equivalent to 200 million.
200 million. Okay, in fiscal year 2024, the U.S. federal government spent approximately 100 billion on SNAP.
Yeah.
I know you weren't doing the math on the national total spend.
Right. If you multiply Oklahoma's numbers, it comes to 66.66 billion. So it would make sense that some states would even require more assistance, like California and
California.
New York. Exactly. So, wow. Well, I imagine California is the lion's share of that money. Not the lion's share, but the largest state requirement.
We're gonna see which state. Oh, can you guess which state per capita receives the most in SNAP payments?
Per capita?
Yeah.
South Dakota.
Nope, not even in the top 5.
Oh. Is it California?
No.
Why don't you just tell me?
New Mexico.
Oh. Oh yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Which explains the last little kicker at the end of the last clip.
What was that? Let me play it.
And something else that's new, Native Americans and members of federally recognized tribes are now exempt from those work requirements.
Ah, I see.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Native Americans in New Mexico.
Yep.
And Oklahoma, from what I'm told.
Okay. Well, very good. That I wanted to cover that because the SNAP thing has been an ongoing issue, and I hope that, out of all of this, I hope that there are people in every state. Every morning I'm listening to my local radio station while I sit at my desk at work, and I am only in my allocated 10-minute breaks texting said radio station, telling them about how every representative that they interview should be completely harangued about what they're doing to get the state off of federal dollars. And I've never heard the question actually asked to one of the representatives. But I hope there are people out there doing the same thing, both calling their representatives and pestering members of the media who interview representatives, to use this as an example as to why you don't want to be dependent on federal dollars. Because today you live in a red state and it's Donald Trump and you don't have much to worry about. Tomorrow it's Gavin Newsom and you live in a red state.
Yeah. Oh, I think the liberals are all kind of reeling at all the federal power that they've granted, or all the power they've granted the federal government and the president.
Oh no,
over
they're
the past
not.
Couple of years. Well, they're
it's just Trump. It has nothing to do with what they've done in the last 20 years. It's just Trump.
They're feeling the pain of it. They don't understand that it's a consequence of their actions.
It might as well be the invisible hand of the market slapping them across the face.
Yeah, it's the meme of the kid putting a stick in his bicycle spokes and falling off his bike.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn Trump.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun. You want to thank some people?
Hey, let's thank some people.
Let's do it.
Millennial Media. Offensive.
Not a great segue, but I'll take it. Actually, not a segue at all, but, just a little.
A change of topic. You are riding along on the offensive every Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m. John and I hop on this here internet thing, let you know what's going on in the news, give you our thoughts and opinions on it, and sometimes pat ourselves on the back when everything that you've been talking about for the past 4 years is starting to pan out and seem like, hey, you were onto something. Jake Tapper didn't see this coming. That's because Jake Tapper...
Hey, you guys were onto something. Here's $5.
Exactly. Maybe if we were onto something a little bit more, there'd be a couple of zeros added to that 5.
I'm not disparaging people who donate to the show. I appreciate every dollar. It's a joke.
Yes, thank you for everyone that donates. That being said, we don't have advertisers like Big Pharma or, oh my gosh, my parents just left. They were here for 2 weeks. We're watching a lot of Fox News. I don't know what Fox News is going to do in 10 years. Their customer base is going to be dead. All these drugs and, you can get your free power chair if you if you have some sort of benefits.
It's bad.
It's bad. It's bad. Their viewer base is dying out, and we're going to have the Nick Fuentes channel instead. And everyone can go and gawk at them. But that means that we rely on donations from people. It can be fiat information donation, clips, art, all the above. You can go to mmo.show/donate and find out how all of those work. We always like to start off by thanking the person that supplied the art from last week's episode number 196, You're Flocked. And this art came in from Woof, and it was the Medicare Viking ship with piles of cash on it. He actually submitted quite a few pieces, one that made me laugh out loud. But this was a great winner. I like this piece a lot.
Yeah, it was very similar to his piece from when Greta Thunberg and her flotilla was we're hit. They thought they had been hit by Israel. But in reality, someone had just negligently discharged a flare gun. It's very similar to that piece.
Damn Israel. Making us fire flares at ourselves. Yeah, very similar to that piece. He took my pad die comment last week and kind of ran with it.
Yeah, see, the real conversation here is about the pieces we didn't choose.
Yeah, he was trying to get the guy, the Somalian, on trial that eats with his hands. And he said it was a bit racy, which is hilarious because it's incredibly racy. It's like something you'd see in a 1910 depiction of a Somalian. I showed it to my dad, and my dad's like, "Oh my God, you didn't use any of those, did you?" And if it's my dad saying that, it's pretty bad. So, yes, a bit racy but the one that I burst out laughing was the pad thai, which is a sad-looking Asian man eating a bowl of noodles in nipple-deep water.
Yeah.
And I don't know, something about it tickled me. It was funny. I showed my Vietnamese brother-in-law this photo because he was in town this weekend, and he did not appreciate it. He was happy we didn't pick it. So good call.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, I have to point out though the noodle font that, and no one's gonna see this piece, but our names are made with noodles.
It's a great piece. We really need.
We
really need a website. We really do.
Yes, and then I really enjoyed the sheep, the flock piece. So there's a field of sheep, too many, crowded in a pen, and each post on the pen has 2 cameras on it. And it's a reference to the flock system that we discussed last week. But I think we named the show in reference to that topic, so we didn't choose that piece.
Yeah, use that art. I like the one where the instead of its usual sound, it's going flock. The sheep. It's got a little thought bubble going flock, which is funny. Yeah. So thank you, Wolf, for those submissions. He's here tonight, and I think we might get some more submissions, but it doesn't have to be Wolf. It could be somebody else. If you got an idea, feel free to send it to Dan at MMO.show and John at MMO.show. Operators are standing by to judge your artwork on the basis of its skin color.
Yes, and suggestive poses.
That is correct. Usually during that, I pull up the show notes, but or the fiat donations, but I seem to have forgotten that step. So, John, why don't you dance around a little bit for everybody's
Okay. Well, we do this every Tuesday. We do it at 5:30 p.m. Central Time every Tuesday. We have 3 more episodes this year. We had taken a little time off for the last month or so with, Dan insisting on creating a lineage and me insisting on going to consult the Oracle in Costa Rica on these lottery numbers that are up for grabs no more. It was a ripoff. They told me that all I had to do was throw some pebbles in the volcano, and that I would be given the correct the answers to any of my questions. Maybe my Spanish just wasn't good enough to interpret the Oracle's message correctly. But yes, it appears that the lottery numbers have been drawn, but it does not say that the winning numbers were drawn. Estimated cash value is $403.6 million, which couldn't even pay for SNAP benefits, so it's just pathetic.
What are we doing? Perhaps the real winning numbers are in these donations hidden somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, well, let's see.
Let's see. So starting off at the top of the list comes
Don't you what are we doing me?
Starting off at the
You
top of
ask
the
me
list,
to dance and then ask me what I'm doing. It's borderline abuse.
I don't know. I'm tired. A name that needs no introduction, but I will anyways. Eli the Coffee Guy comes in at the top of the list through PayPal with $33.33 and says, last week's breakdown of Flock and its mesh net had my mind blowing. That sort of deep research is one of the main reasons I donate. True value. That and the large African package, which should have had queued up for you here, but,
Large African package.
We're an amateur production here. I want to wish those out there a Merry Christmas. And if anyone's looking for a quick, easy, last-minute gift, visit gigawattcoffeeroasters.com. We're having a sampler pack sale this weekend, which is the perfect present for someone you know that drinks coffee, or yourself. Stay caffeinated and stay on the offensive.
On the offensive.
Thank you, Eli. And yes, you have been a godsend with your caffeine. It's been keeping me awake. It's a good product. I actually like Gigawatt Coffee a lot. It's the only coffee that I drink. My wife, however, is on Nespresso pods. So if you start making Gigawatt Nespresso pods, I'm sure she'll hop on the train as well.
Too much plastic, Elise.
It's not plastic. They're aluminum. And when you throw it away, you're like, oh, my God, this is very wasteful.
You should keep them and make a lower out of them.
You could make a lower out of them. Some people sell adhesive tinfoil tops so you can load it up with your own coffee. So we could make Gigawatt coffee pods. However, if you don't do them right, the whole machine jams up and you have to clean it for 20 hours. It's terrible. So it is a risk. But thank you very much, Eli. Sharky Shark comes in through PayPal with $20.01. That's his monthly reoccurring donation. That's our day one fish for everybody that's wondering. Emily the Fed came in with through PayPal with $11. That's her monthly reoccurring. She's the one that made the comments about Trump and his kind of sort of racist, narcissistic comments. Susan A comes in through Thank you, Emily. Susan A comes in through Cash App with $5.55 and says, appreciate all you do, OTO.
On the offensive.
And Weirdo comes in with $3.33, and that's Praetor Weirdo of the Not So Flatlands, and he says, OTO.
On the offensive.
And that does it for our fiat donations this week.
Oh, wow, okay.
Did I catch you off guard?
Yeah, you did.
Well, John is going to go to boost.mmo.show.
Yeah, you don't have to dance. I don't really like the way you move. So C Brooklyn comes in our Bitcoin donation list with 10,000 Satoshis and says OTO. Thank you very much, C. Brooklyn. That's very much appreciated.
That's a big one.
On the offensive.
That's worth a Baghdaddy, not a Mo again.
Well, he said OTO, but I agree with you on that one. Here we go.
Baghdaddy.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Baghdaddy.
Yes, C. Brooklyn, you are the Baghdaddy of this show. Thank you very much. You can also be the Baghdaddy if you send the top Bitcoin donation through a modern podcast app. You can find those at newpodcastapp.com. Mug Daddy, not Baghdaddy, but Mug Daddy comes in with 5,000 Satoshis and has a gripe. He has a complaint. Great show, but a quibble. I'm sorry, he has a quibble. Organ donation is a purely opt-in model in the U.S. I'm a medical ethicist at a large hospital, so this is well within my area of expertise. I think he's got us cornered here, Dan.
That's probably correct.
The ethical issue with organ donation is that it's nearly impossible to opt out once you've opted in. In small pilot trials of opt-out, donation rates actually go down slightly because it forces them to think about what they're doing. Whereas, under the current opt-in model, it's mostly teenagers at the DMV unwittingly entering a binding contract to donate their organs if they become dead by neurological criteria. OTO!
On the offensive.
I love that. But yeah, you read the sarcasm into the OTO. I know he didn't mean it, but it is funny. Like, checkmate.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of value that is worth so much more than 5,000 Satoshis, because it is an authority on a topic that we were discussing. And we're trying to improve here, and this is the kind of thing that improves the product that we're producing. So you may have sent 5,000 Satoshis, but this might as well be worth 20,000 Satoshis, if I could even put a value on it, because this is, it adds an element to the show that 99% of podcasts don't have.
I agree.
So thank you, Mug Daddy.
That makes medical ethicists, the TSA, and the guy that works at the Eucharist factory that confirms gluten-free Eucharist. All those people are on the offensive.
I should read the TSA note. Yes,
you should, yeah.
So we got a note from a TSA officer. Name is, I'm kidding. Please keep this anonymous. I am a TSA worker, and some of this information is considered need to know. So I'm going to be a little discreet in what I reveal here even. The change to opt out any time is a new change within the last couple of months. Up until recently, if you handed your ID to the TSA agent, then you were locked into using the camera unless you specified it beforehand. This is in regard to my anecdote, my travel anecdote, which Dan was not entertained by, even though it elicited such a fantastic note, where the TSA agent at the gate told my wife that since she had put her ID down, that she was locked into taking a photo. Then the manager confirmed my suspicion that you could opt out anytime. Well, apparently this is a new change, and I was correct, and that was confirmed at the time by the manager, but I would not have been correct in the recent past. So this could have just been a habitual thing by the TSA officer and not remembering the change. Or she could have wanted to be difficult. I don't know.
Yeah.
So superiors are saying to use the camera as much as possible as a CYA. Quote, the machine said it's you, not my job to question if you're in a disguise or not, kind of thing. Which I get. I totally understand that. So basically they're saying, don't disclose to people that they don't have to take a photo, but if they request it, they still have the ability to opt out. in terms of having your bag pulled, we are only able to pull a bag if there is an in terms of having your bag pulled, we are only able to pull a bag if there is an articulable belief there is an issue. We don't mark bags by people who opt out, and the only instance I myself have seen of pulling a bag for any reason not for an issue was for annual evaluations. Basically, pull that bag, log out, and then do a bag search of it. I got to do your annuals kind of thing. Okay? So there was some suspicion that we were targeted because we opted out of the photo and gave a little bit of grief to the gate agent when she told us that we couldn't opt out because my wife had already put her passport down. But this is refuting that is really a possibility, which I'm fine with. It could have been purely coincidence. I just, sometimes it feels good to consider yourself a victim when you're a member of the non-victim class in every way possible. I just like to tamper in what the rest of the people are feeling out there sometimes.
I'm with you.
The DHS holding your image is new to me, but further emphasizes opting out. I work for TSA, and I opt out. The machine can be fast when you want it to. The machine can be fast, but when it messes up, man, it messes up. OTO.
On the offensive.
Yeah, I've been there when it messes up. I also asked him about whether my past accidental bringing ammo through is flagged, and apparently it's not. So there you go.
Okay. I don't feel safe on airplanes anymore. Yeah, so Taylor actually messaged me during the show, which she does sometimes, and sometimes I don't see it. But she said that the lady didn't say DHS holds your photo. She said that she specifically said ICE keeps the photo.
Interesting.
Which could be, kind of a workplace rumor with the publicity of ICE right now, or not. But ICE is under DHS, so a little bit of woman-splaining going on there while I'm doing the show. But I appreciate the clarification anyway. But yeah, apparently the lady didn't say DHS. She said specifically, we don't keep the picture, but ICE does.
Someone's got it.
So anyway.
Someone's got your photo.
Someone's got it. And I have a little bit of a follow-up on our tech segment later. Not exactly related to Flock or any kind of anything to do with the photos that are taken of you in airports, but I do have a tech segment after our donation segment, and I think that pretty much wraps up our donation segment. I'd like to
a few more.
Oh yeah, I got more people. More people. Let's see. Fair Volti comes in with 1,997 Satoshis. Says, good to hear you guys flocking together. Hashtag OTO. Here's to next week. Thank you for your courage.
Thank you,
Fair Volti. Bully Steed comes in with 1234 and says, remain on the offensive. We shall. Hashtag OTO. Hashtag MMO. And while you are at it, let me ask you to look at a map of Somalia.
Tuesday is news day.
Every time.
Let me ask you to look again at a map.
I always get it wrong.
And then Nostragang comes in with 102 Satoshis and says, I once walked into my county government center with a mag in my purse. Luckily, they just laughed at me.
Yeah, that's actually one of the places. I have my concealed carry. And that's like government buildings is one of the places where even if you're licensed, you can't bring one. So,
okay.
Live and learn.
Well, we Eric PP streamed 1,825 to MMO number 196, and a new name, Magnolia Mayhem, streamed 90 Satoshis. So thank you to everyone who sent value in any way, whether it be information or monies. We appreciate those. We have mouths to feed around here, shoes to buy. dry firing systems to maintain.
I needed that for my sanity. I really did. I totally said Christmas gift to myself. Don't even worry about it. I need it now.
It was a business expense.
That's pretty much the business of not going postal expense.
Okay, that's all I've got.
Well, then let's get back into the second half of the show.
Segway.
A dying company of gyroscopic motors that keep you upright.
Get it on.
They were supposed to be the future. I remember when Segways first came out. And then the Segway guy, I think he died in a Segway crash, didn't he? They went off a cliff in a Segway. Hey, I might have made that up. I don't know.
You know they're spelled differently.
Yeah, I do. But I still...
Well, you know what happened. I mean, he might as well have gone off a cliff and died, but Paul Blart, Mall Cop, came out.
Yeah, you look really uncool. Or you're like, it became associated with fat guys in uniform.
Fickle authority.
Here it is. On the morning of September 26, 2010, Helseden, who's the CEO and president, was riding his Segway while walking his dog near Thorpe Arch. When he reversed the Segway to allow the dog walker to get past him, he fell from a nearby cliff into this is terrible, into the river wharf. Yeah. A rugged country version of a Segway was found in the water. The coroner concluded that Helseden had died of multiple blunt force injuries of the chest and spine consistent with the fall whilst riding a gyro bike. Well, it's a hell of a way to go. At least he did it on something he loved.
Quite a segue into the afterlife.
It's terrible. That's terrible, but funny.
Just imagine what that dog walker's having to live with.
I know. I killed the Segway guy. And all I got was a stupid t-shirt. Oh, man. That is a bummer. They took that away from you too, England. They took the Segway guy.
I mean, honestly, though, I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, but who looks at a four-wheeler and says, what if I could stand up and had two less wheels?
The future, John, the people of the future. When those were released, every city in America was offering Segway tours. I'm upset I never got to go on one. I always wanted to ride a Segway. I've never ridden a Segway. It's a bummer.
You ever ridden a one-wheel?
Unicycle?
No.
Like the one where you like sit inside of it and it goes around you?
No.
I don't know what a one-wheel is.
A one-wheel board.
Oh.
The electric skateboard.
I don't think so, no. Like where there's the ball underneath you?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a guy that did that in the park when I lived in St. Louis City proper.
The one-wheel brand starts at $1,300. No, there's one for $700.
I'm seeing, yeah, wow. See, it's future motion. They're all like, this is the thing of the future.
Yeah.
Wow. $3,500 for the off-roading one. I like to go on hikes, but I also don't like to sweat. Here you go.
Yeah. You know what I enjoy, and maybe it's just because I have a pair and I don't have to buy anything else, especially that costs $750, is rollerblading.
I used to be really into rollerblading when I was like 7. Like every day I'd come home from school and I'd rollerblade. And I thought it was fun as shit.
We went rollerblading around Denver a couple times.
I'm sure you did. Did you let your long, majestic hair flow behind you?
Absolutely. There was minimal clothing as well.
I feel an art piece coming on. Wolf.
I'm going to go ahead and nip that in the bud.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless it's really good.
It's gonna be really good. I can feel it already. It's coming.
You want to talk about Africa?
We can talk about Africa. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Africa. There was, I think if this had been successful, it would have been a huge story. But it was not successful. But there was an attempted coup in Benin, which you may not be familiar with Benin in Africa. But we've been talking recently about the focus, both propagandistic focus and actual focus on Nigeria. And Benin is Nigeria's western neighbor.
Right.
Which makes you wonder, who was behind this coup? Is this over? What's going on here? And to give you the quick and dirty of the Nigeria importance, the thesis of a Nigeria importance, you have the Sahel countries that have suffered military coups to throw out Western influence over the past few years. And the attacks by rebel groups have increased in frequency in Nigeria's north. And Nigeria is the crown jewel of the alliance known as ECOWAS because largely of its port city, which would be Lagos.
Yep.
So that's the quick and dirty. And then we have this coup attempt in Benin, which Benin is about, at its shortest distance, Benin is about 20 miles from Lagos.
I would say about, yeah, it's the Nigeria's western border pretty much, and then on Benin's northern border, it's touching Burkina Faso.
And Niger.
Yep.
Yes, so I've got First Post, and I'm afraid it is an AI presenter. Even though it's a good one, it's a decent one, but I think it is AI. I don't know if you have clips and want to play those first or how you want to do this, but mine are in the Benin folder.
I have a story out of France 24, which kind of probably gives
that'll
a
be
little
a
bit
good
better
one.
rundown.
Yeah, I think so.
Benin's government says it has foiled a coup attempt after a group of soldiers in the West African nation led by Lieutenant Colonel Pascal Tigri announced on national television that they had ousted the president and seized power. The foreign minister refuted those claims, saying the majority of the National Guard and the military remain loyal to President Patrice Talon. A government spokesperson says 14 people have been arrested in connection with that attempt to take control. Let's take a listen now to the Interior Minister.
Fellow countrymen and women, on this Sunday, December the 7th, 2025, in the early morning, a small group of soldiers engaged in mutiny in order to destabilize the state and its institutions. Before this situation, the Benin armed forces and their hierarchy, faithful to their oath, remained republican. They fought back and allowed the situation to remain under control and to fail the maneuver. Thus, the government invites the population to keep acting as usual.
I thought that last line was funny. The government invites the population to keep acting as usual. I know he's basically saying, hey, don't freak out, go about your life as normal.
Yeah.
But
that was also a highlight in the First Post coverage as well.
The way it's just said, go about your operations as usual. It's like a bunch of robots in Benin or what? What's going on there? Yes, there's this failed coup attempt that's happening in Benin. That was kind of the big. There's like a little bit of a backgrounder, but I thought the most interesting part of this happens in this third clip where they talk about recent kind of events that have been happening in Benin, specifically in a northern region of Benin. And keep in mind, it borders Burkina Faso and Niger, which are two key staples of the Sahel region and the CUD governments in Africa.
Now, Beverly, you mentioned there a moment ago that there's a couple of concerns that are happening. The mutinous soldiers mentioned a couple of those. One of them was the president's handling of the deterioration of the security situation in the northern part of the country. How has regional instability in the area impacted Benin?
I mean, Benin itself is starting to experience the spread of the militancy in the northern regions, the districts of Atakora and Alabori, which border both Niger and Burkina Faso. Since 2019, there have been some attacks by militant groups, the Al-Qaeda group, which is based in Mali, as well as the presence of Islamic State that has some influence in neighboring Nigeria. In fact, as recently as October, an attack was claimed by the Al-Qaeda group in Nigeria, claiming that it may have used a route through Benin. That insurgency is still far off from really destabilizing Benin, but of course, it is leading to mistrust within the region. There's a lack of coordination between Benin and Niger. The border remains closed. Niger is under military rule in 2023. They accuse Benin of being supported by external actors, including France, to destabilize it. There's also the lack of coordination now between the Multinational Joint Task Force. Benin is a contributor, so is Nigeria, but Niger and Chad pulled out. So there's a lot in flux. But with this particular military coup, even though that was raised as a grievance, for now it's very well away from the capital, Cotonou and Porto Novo. However, it's likely to be a source of concern in the event that this insurgency continues to hold, especially in that Sahel and northern region.
So during my solo show, I had brought a video about Africa and why Russia was sending so many resources to Africa. And it was the Cappy Army video, and he talked about kind of the conflict and how these conflicts flow over borders and how it's beneficial now because you can get more countries wrapped up in sort of this domino effect of the Wagner group, and then you can use that country for its resources, whatever they are. And so that's kind of what is happening. What was predicted in that video, not really predicted, but was saying what was happening in Africa. It kind of happened in Benin, where this military coup decided to try to overthrow the government in the south. Porto Novo, the capital, is right along the coastline, and these conflicts are happening in the north. But from the military coup perspective, it's that the president is not doing enough to secure the border, and so they decided to have a military coup in Benin so they could secure their border. And it's kind of a similar story as what's happened in Niger and Burkina Faso as well. So it's a continuation of what we're seeing happening in that Sahel region, falling out of the Sahel now into these kind of more Western-aligned countries of Benin and Nigeria, which is the premise and one of the reasons we keep hearing about Nigeria in the news and the children being kidnapped and all that stuff. The Christians! That's right, the Christians being killed. It's all of this media coming out of Africa over something that we really didn't hear a whole lot about before, but now that they're knocking on Nigeria's door, it becomes a concern as we're trying to wrestle control with Russia and China in Africa. So that's why.
Yeah, and if you don't think Benin isn't, if you don't think Benin is important to Nigeria, just take this little factoid that Nigeria deployed their air force and sent troops into Benin during this coup attempt.
The bombing. I saw that headline of that as well. I also saw a headline, and this was out of Nigeria, that some of the school children that were captured by believed to be Boko Haram have been released, but there's still some that are in captivity.
I would think that, and that could all be part of a larger strategic play here. You you encourage Nigeria to lax its security on the northern border by releasing some of these school children. You force them to rapidly send forces to the southwest to protect their border with Benin and assist in Benin. Are they opened up for an attack from the north in the next few days? Would we be providing enough intelligence for them to see that and see it coming? I don't know, but it still feels like a very volatile time. It doesn't feel like 14 guys who just got together and said, let's take the TV station and tell everybody we're in charge.
No, it might have been a premature shot, but it doesn't seem like it's going to go away. And, part of the report from France 24 that I cut out mentioned that Benin is one of the more stable democracies in Africa, as it's listed. I think Nigeria being held as one of the most stable democracies in Africa. So I thought that was an interesting comment, and then add in that Nigeria actively defended Benin during that time. Yeah, there's definitely some concern there, and how we've been hearing about it and how we've kind of had this feeling that we're being drummed up to care about Nigeria more and more. I feel vindicated in that, just based off of those two facts alone.
Absolutely. And this isn't the end.
No. Not at all.
Well, did you hear about the earthquake and tsunami in Japan?
Briefly, a little bit about it. I heard there was a tsunami warning that it expired, but
7.5 magnitude quake, which we know that the quake scale has been changed in the past to make 7.5s seem more strong than they actually used to be according to the old scale. So it's not a 7.5 in the way that you used to think about a 7.5, but it's still a large quake, and there were some pretty significant tsunamis in Japan as well. I think, let's see, how many people do we have on a death count right now?
In Japan?
Yeah.
Yeah, they changed the scale on these things just so climate people can say these are happening more frequently due to climate change.
And in stronger intensities.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, maybe 33 people injured. I don't think anyone's died. But yeah. Yeah, 33 injured. There you go. The talking point now is, are there going to be any follow-on quakes? Which, if I know that a lot of people, the common knowledge out there is that we're kind of in the downtrend of our solar cycle right now. I'm not sure exactly where we are in the solar cycle, but it sure seems like this thing is going to peak around first quarter of 2026. And I know nature doesn't adhere to our calendars, especially our quarterly way of thinking of things. But for us, I feel like first quarter of 2026 is going to be a real climax in some of these volcanoes and earthquakes. And we know that increased solar activity also increases behavioral activity as well, where you could have conflict increase because of increased solar activity. I always think about the study out of the UK that we brought back in 2024 about the solar researchers predicting that 2025 and 2026 would see elevated violent crime rates, and I think so far they're accurate with 2025.
Well, I mean,
and
maybe not even violent crime rates, but general violence all over the world.
Yeah, but the study's focus was on violent crime rates. Right. But yeah, I get the feeling that the early 2026 is going to be something else.
I could see that. Kind of in that same vein, not really the solar flares, but more of the climate change. and what we were talking about earlier with Europe, this headline out of Reuters right now, EU strikes a deal to weaken corporate sustainability laws, which is read as EU is cutting kind of the sustainability or environmental laws that are probably making European corporations less competitive on a global stage.
Read as we're broke.
Exactly. We're broke. We can no longer afford this liberal BS that we've been doing and subsidized by the U.S. It's just funny because the pieces keep falling together. It's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, you want to talk about some tech?
Sure.
Have you heard of these Intellexa leaks or the Intellexa company?
I don't believe so.
Intellexa is a company that makes military-grade software and sells it or licenses their platforms to states, not American limp-wristed states, but actual sovereign states. Think Israel, just as a random example. No real reason why I would use that example here, but just as an example of what kind of state I'm talking about.
Sure.
But there have been some leaks around some of their products, and their platform is called Predator. So this is a video I found explaining, the setup is going to be explaining what the Predator platform is from Intellexa.
We've got something huge to talk about today. We're diving deep into the Intellexa leaks, a massive, recently uncovered trove of internal documents from one of the world's most infamous mercenary spyware companies. We're going to take you inside their signature product, Predator, to show you exactly how this incredibly powerful surveillance tool works and, more importantly, why it's such a massive threat.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll get a handle on the threat itself. Then, we'll look at how these infections actually start, including a brand new silent attack method you need to know about. After that, we'll get to the smoking gun from the leaks themselves. And finally, we'll tie it all together and talk about why this whole industry is something you should be paying attention to. All right, first things first. What exactly are we dealing with here? Let's pull back the curtain on Predator and really understand what it is. So, Predator falls into this category of mercenary spyware. Now, what does that mean? Well, think of it this way. This is not software you can just go out and buy. It's basically a weapon-grade surveillance tool built by a private company and then sold, usually under the table, to governments who want to spy on specific people. And just look at how invasive this stuff is.
Oh, God.
Once Predator is on a phone, it's like a ghost in the machine. It can see everything. We're talking encrypted messages on Signal or WhatsApp. It can record your conversations, steal your passwords, track your every move. It can even turn on your camera and microphone without you ever knowing. It is total, unchecked access.
Why do they have to make the AI guy gay?
Less threatening.
Evidently. Yeah, I was reading about it while we were listening to that. It operates on like a 1-click or 0-click link. Effectively, it's like an old school computer virus, but for your phone.
Do you realize the gravity of what you just said?
What?
0-click?
It says this in the article.
Uh-huh. Has that sunk in of what that is?
Yeah, in that you just get it and you're infected.
And I know this is AI. I know you may be skeptical of it, but I have receipts in the show notes from Security Lab, Google Threat Analysis teams, and Recorded Future, a full report on this Predator platform from Recorded Future that is well worth the read if you have any technical ability to understand all of this and curiosity about it. But yeah, let's just listen to this Vectors clip. Because and the thing is, I was telling Taylor about this. I don't think, basically, when I was telling her about it, she said, "You expect me to be surprised by this?" I'm like, well, I wish you weren't so jaded, So I'm going to stop talking about these kind of things so that you aren't so jaded, but I'm jaded too about it. And no, I don't expect you to be surprised because we know about all this. But to get the confirmation that this is available and just being sold to governments to use for whatever purpose they want, it's really one of those moments where you're running to the town, you want to run to the town center and ring the bell and scream at people. But then no one can hear the bell. No one cares about the bell. So what do? So let's listen to this Vectors clip and really get an idea of what this zero-click attack is.
So the big question is, how does a tool this powerful actually get onto somebody's phone? Let's break down the anatomy of one of these attacks. For a long, long time, Predator's main trick was something called a one-click attack. It's pretty much what it sounds like. An operator sends a very convincing but malicious link to a target. If they click it, boom. The spyware exploits a weakness in the phone's browser, like Chrome or Safari, and installs itself. But here's the key. That's a big if. It relies on the target making a mistake. Now, to get around that risk, Intellixa came up with two main ways to deliver their spyware. They call them tactical and strategic. Tactical attacks mean you have to be physically close to the person. Think like hacking them over a coffee shop Wi-Fi. But the real game changer, the one we need to worry about, is their strategic approach, which can be launched from literally anywhere on the planet. And this brings us to their most advanced and, frankly, most terrifying strategic weapon. It's a system they call Aladdin, and it represents a whole new era of completely silent infection. And these aren't my words. This is from one of their own leaked documents. They call Aladdin a remote zero-click attack vector. Zero click. Let that sink in. It means the target doesn't have to do a single thing. No clicking a weird link, no downloading a strange file, nothing. So how on earth does that even work? It's a pretty devious four-step process. First, the attacker gets the target's public IP address, which they can often do by forcing an internet provider to give it to them. Then, they use that IP address to push a malicious ad into a normal advertising network. So, when the target is just browsing a regular news site or using an app, that malicious ad gets served to their phone. And here's the kicker. The moment the ad loads on the screen, the device is infected. You have to understand what this means. The Aladdin system weaponizes the very digital ad infrastructure that the entire internet runs on. It turns the apps and news sites you visit and trust every single day into potential entry points for spyware, and the victim has absolutely no idea it's happening.
Bearskin tactical hoodie. I mentioned on the show, that show we went on, and my brother, I think my brother might actually buy me one as a joke now because he keeps implying that he's going to. So I hope he doesn't. But anyways, I mentioned on the show that if you have a down jacket, you're fine. And then that very next day, I'm watching YouTube, and the ad pops up and goes, "Your puffer jacket will keep you warm while you're sitting in a coffee shop, but step outside and you'll freeze your nipples off." And it was like, it countered my point. It was like, oh, your puffer jacket will only keep you warm in a coffee shop. Bearskin tactical hoodie. I'm infected, baby. They're spying on me.
I think it's important to just say that even though it's an AI script that was just read, it's absolutely correct. This is a weaponization of the entire structure of the internet, the ad-based structure. And I think it should reinforce our point of pride that we don't rely on ads. Ads are censorship. Ads are surveillance.
Ads are death. In a roundabout way. Wow. That's heavy.
It really is. I mean, I don't mean to be glib, and I don't think I do a very good job of being glib anyway, but it really is. It's playing into this theme that we've been kind of exploring unintentionally the last few shows of how hopeless this all seems as far as surveillance goes.
Yeah, there really is no privacy unless you buy some land and live in a shack and send bombs to universities.
Well, it really doesn't matter where you live. Like, you can wear a hoodie and a ball cap in the city wherever you step outside and keep your blinds drawn. And as long as you don't have any smart devices in your home, you're probably going to be okay. But you cannot have a smartphone. You can't do it. It's end game. If you own a smartphone, it's over.
Right. I think probably the best method would be, security through obscurity. So running a very obscure OS on your devices. Linux is a good example. I know it's not super obscure, but like a Linux phone-based system would probably be the safest because it's
Graphene or Calyx.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'm still an iPhone guy. Unfortunately, I've succumbed to the social pressure.
Oh, if you look through some of the Google threat analysis, and I know it's Google, so obviously they're gonna drop a load on iPhone as much as they can, but many of these products that are developed for sale to companies and to sovereign states, they focus heavily on iPhone.
Oh, specifically, yeah.
Yeah.
The majority of people that listen to this show, about more than 50% listen to it on the Apple iPhone. So,
and the thing is, it's not this idea that there's someone out there going through your stuff and looking at you through your webcam. That's not what's happening. What's happening is they are building libraries of information and images. And if you ever dare get to be a problem, all you got to do is search that unique identifier for whoever decided to get uppity on social media or decide that they disagree with the regime, and boom, look at what they searched. Look at what they posted. Look at what they said in the privacy of their own home. Look at how disgusting they are as a human being. Now you, as another human being who knows that we have all this information on you too, you don't want your information exposed, do you?
yeah, that's exactly it. And that's how you get the pseudo-Manchurian candidates of these politicians that seem great, and then they get into office and they're a wet fart. And it's because somebody has a little conversation with them.
I mean, it's because somebody puts the USB stick in front of them and says, take that home and check it out, and then come back and let me know what you think about our policy toward Israel. I mean, our policy toward soybean farmers.
Right. Oh, it is total control. Yeah.
And, it's run, everybody out there, and this may put me more at risk than any kind of political opinion I could have. Anybody out there involved in this is a creep. You're a creep. You're a freaking creep. You can say, oh, I safeguard national security. You're a creep.
Enjoy those videos of me in front of my webcam. It's kind of funny.
But there has to be there has to come a point where you've either got to decide to be a coward and be silent, or live with the possibility that even if you've been perfect, even if you've never said or done anything that could be used to slander and get you fired and get you ostracized from normal society, even if you've been Charlie Kirk, it can be manufactured. The world's foremost technologists in these creep-filled governments could create a video of me or you right now, because we've got a webcam and we use apps and we like our smartphones. They could create a video of us doing anything they wanted to.
That's your best defense moving forward. That's clearly AI. That's not me jacking off in front of my webcam. My penis is twice as big as that. Oh, that'd be great. that's scary. But, what are you going to do about it?
Exactly. It is scary, but at the same time, you can't let it be scary. And that's where there's a little bit of faith that comes in of, hey, the right thing to do is to tell the truth. And if I do the right thing, no matter how much I've done the wrong thing in the past, and that's used against me by the forces of evil creeps, I'm still doing the right thing, and that's the right thing to do. It doesn't matter how long you were Saul of Tarsus. What matters is that you're Paul now.
You took the trip down the road of Damascus.
Right.
There you go. Be a good person. Stop whacking off in front of your camera.
They're looking at you.
Yeah, that's right. Not only is God watching, but Israel is too.
Right. Right. Oh, well, that's all I've got.
Well, I've got one thing, and I wanted to get your views on it. A new thing went into effect in Australia. This might be a fun one to end on, actually. The social media ban in Australia went into effect.
Oh, they banned X, didn't they?
They banned everything for people that are 16 years and younger.
Oh, I see.
You can't get on. So
digital ID, right?
I think so, more or less. I'll play the clip, and the Prime Minister has some words for the young Aussies out there.
The Prime Minister is encouraging kids to catch up face-to-face once the social media ban takes effect in a new video being rolled out to schools this week.
It's the Prime Minister here, and I wanted to speak to you directly about something very important.
Let's go live to Nine's federal politics reporter.
We're watching you on your webcam.
Wait, how did he get the video out to kids? That's what I want to know. How did that work?
Welcome to the new drive-in theater.
That's right. Yeah, we had to text this video to you. It's not a Pegasus link or whatever the hell.
Saunders in Canberra. Emily, it's just one day to go until kids are locked out of the apps.
It is, Christine, and during the ban's lead-up, there has been some confusion and anxiousness from kids about what exactly the ban will mean for them. Anthony Albanese looking to clear up concerns, hoping this video message will cut through to those who are about to be directly impacted the most.
From December 10, if you're under 16, you're no longer allowed to have a social media account. You'll know better than anyone what it's like growing up with algorithms, endless speeds, and the pressure that can come with that.
There are also reports this morning social media platform Reddit, which will be part of the ban, is preparing to launch its own legal challenge in the High Court after a group of also lodged their case, pushing for it to be scrapped. Christine?
There you go. Reddit's pushing back. They're saying, no, we need to make more kids.
Neckbeard, stand up.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So, I don't know. I never think that the government being involved in this is the solution.
Well, I will. Okay, I understand where you're coming from with that.
Parents are arses.
Well, as creepy as it is for all of the people who work in these governments that are involved in logging people's images and messages and audio and everything, yeah, you're creeps. But also, a company like Reddit lobbying making a legal case that they want to keep children on their platform is also pretty creepy.
Yeah. r/teens, baby, where it's always 100% teens you're talking to. It's definitely not a creepy 45-year-old guy trying to get you to take a photo of yourself in your boxers. But, it's one of those things. Is it going to be a net positive effect for kids? Probably, actually. Probably. Do I think the government should play that role? No. I think Gen Z and Gen Alpha are doing a good job themselves of kind of removing the technology. Like my nephew Max, if he's not playing sports, he's in a river fishing. I asked him what he had planned for the next couple weeks. He's off school for Christmas, and he said the steelheads are running in the Milwaukee River, so he's going to go out and fish them. Yeah, great. I was like, that kid's awesome. He's my godson, so he's got to take a little bit of my spiritual eagle from me, I would imagine. But yeah, he's just like, I think there's a lot of kids like him. I think they like doing that stuff more so than posting TikToks. Of course, a lot of them like going fishing and then coming home and watching fishing TikToks. But,
yeah, exactly.
There's a mixture there. So, I don't know. Should the government be involved in that? They told me I couldn't have a beer when I was 19. So, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world that you can't have a Snapchat account at 13. But Australia is a slave state and millennial bookkeeper. You should move to the United States.
Yeah, I mean, my concern, on its face, in a vacuum, government saying, yeah, kids can't have this, sure, probably a net positive, but it's never in a vacuum. There are going to be fall-on effects from the logistics of implementing that are probably worse when you have a better solution, which would be the parents standing up to their kids and saying, no, you can't have this.
Yeah.
But in reality, the only way anything ever really gets done in a cultural degraded by liberal democracy is the government by government action. So, yippee!
Yeah, and that's the precedent of it that I don't really like is that, in order to solve this problem, we must consult our government. I don't know.
Zoran Mondami said, "We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to tackle and no issue too small for it to care about." A very American statement, if you ask me.
We'll even care about John G. Dew's penis.
That's pretty small.
It wouldn't be a podcast done by two white guys without a couple of dick jokes. There you go. Yeah, they were talking in the chat room about Reddit. I got banned on Reddit because
I get banned every time I join.
I'm permanently
every
banned.
Community.
If I have a series of Gmail accounts that are linked together, and if I create a new account, I've already been permanently banned, and it was because
and they give you that stupid Reddit bot with the detective hat.
Right. So
looks like you're not allowed here.
So I can look at Reddit, but I can't comment on anything, and it's because I commented on a thing that was mocking Ashley Babbitt about the kid that lit himself on fire for Palestine. And apparently it was so heinous that I got not only kicked out of that community, but banned from Reddit entirely.
Well, that's a badge of pride.
I do kind of like it. I have the app on my phone. I know you have a thing against apps, but it's got a red bar on the top of it every time letting me know you were a naughty boy.
Well, no matter how hopeless, no matter how glib the situation under the surveillance, democracy, welfare state gets, we'll be here. And no matter what they say about us, we'll be here. And we'll be deconstructing the narrative to the best of our ability until they haul us away and hook us up to the VR sets and the milking machine and physically disallow us from taking the mic. We'll be here. and we hope you will too.
From St. Louis, Missouri, I've been Dan Gehring.
And from America's South Coast, where it's not so glib, I've been John G. Dew.
And if you ever see a video of me, it's AI. Just forewarned. MMO. Out.
The Prime Minister is encouraging kids to...
That's not what I wanted, computer. Oh, good. I ordered a barrel for my concealed carry, and it is arriving tomorrow.
Yeah, the old self-inflicted Indian burn.
What's that?
Nothing.
Is that a Southern saying?
That's something I just made up. But in reference to your video comment.
Oh.
You know what an Indian burn is?
Uh-uh.
Oh my goodness, really?
I do not know what an Indian burn is. I will Google it.
It's where you twist someone's skin in opposite directions.
Oh, you know what? I do know what an Indian burn is. You know what a turtle bite is?
Is that where you put your thumb between your two fingers and pinch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does that hurt so badly?
I don't know, but it sure does.
I was giving them to my nephews this weekend. It's like, I think one of them made fun of my sweater or something, and I turtle bit him. The old ways still win.
Yeah. Well, let's produce this thing.
Okay, let's do it. We have a whole slew of titles. I don't think I once saw a single screen without the title spot on there. Oh my God, it's so long. So here we go. Favorite smell. Gasoline. It's coffee for cars. Donnie's duality. What is a Jeet? Over a barrel. Dancing on the graves of dead children. Dry firing at the wall. I could be doing meth. Sunday scaries. Millennial meth offensive. Rusty Christmas trees. I want to smell the Christmas tree. Ratchet energy. Economic bridge. Level playing field. MS 2000. Media service no one watches. Japanese bubble time. Condoned by Millennial Media Offensive. Eccentric TV personality. The Taught Artist. MMO hates Dave Matthews. Vague economy. Reliable allies. The Undecided sphere. Straight to jail. Stabbings and mean social media posts. A little too stabby. Damn Trump. The Nick Fuentes channel. A bit racy. Women-splaining. Save a cowboy, ride a Segway. Military coups. Quick and dirty. Volcanic climax. Creeps. Dick joke podcast. John G. Dew's penis. Two white guys slinging dick jokes. And take the mic. Mike?
I've got two that did not make it. Feeling domestic and missiles.
I don't know. I really like John G. Dew's penis.
Well, I don't know how that's possible because you...
You don't know what private companies I'm buying software from. I don't know.
I kind of like the Undecided sphere.
The Undecided sphere? I like that too. I don't like it because I have a hard time pronouncing sphere.
You did a good job.
The Undecided sphere. Okay. I really wish we said gasoline. It's coffee for cars. It's like a Mitch Hedberg joke.
Yeah.
It's coffee for cars.
Yeah, it's me talking to my 2-year-old.
Oh, great.
It's coffee for cars.
Dad, what's gas made out of? Well, here. This is an ISO that'll forever live now. I don't know. I really like John G. Doo's penis. Thank you, Serpent.
What other ISO bots did we have?
I don't know. I don't know if they did a whole lot of ISO botting. Let's see here. isobot.dev. Wow. Yep, there's a lot of liking your penis. I had a couple of pinpoints that I dropped. Let's see here. That's not me jacking off. That's not me jacking off in front of my webcam. My penis is twice as big as that. Oh man, the shit I say on this show. There's that one, and then I had another one. Let's see here.
Hey.
Oh no, we've lost Fiki. We've lost Fiki.
That would have been a good one if I hadn't stepped on it.
Yeah. I mean, Somalia is not, I mean, he could have been a little nicer about it, but Somalia is not a great country. You don't see a lot of people saying, I'm going to move to Somalia because I hear great things about it. I hear their tire fires are lovely. I think that's what you wanted me to put a thing down.
That's a good one, and it's a real contender, but we do have a Somali tire fire art.
Do we?
Oh, yes, we do.
Oh, man, this is my favorite part. Let's see here. I imagine Wolf did a drop. My emails are not syncing. Come on, sync. I want to see the Somali tire fire art. Oh, boy. That one's a little a little racy. Oh, I like the beans on toast MMO.
I think beans on toast is the winner, too.
Oh, there's the you rollerblading. He did do the rollerblades. It is psychedelic, man. That's a pretty good tacos impression, too. You like beans on toast?
Yeah, I like beans on toast.
I'll do beans on toast. The last true British freedom. Beans on toast. If I had my way, you'd all be incarcerated for that. Come to America. If you put beans on toast in this country, straight to the gulag. An authentic halal English breakfast. Okay, well, if we do beans on toast, then we can do. I hear their tire fires are lovely.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of people saying.
Yeah, put a marker down.
I hear their tire fires are lovely. Just that one. I hear their tire fires are lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear their tire fires are lovely. Then it is decided.
With you. I'm kind of retarded.
Oh, you know what? I will say one thing.
Cummins engine.
Title. Favorite smell. Oh, you know what? I will say one thing. And being chronically sleep deprived for cars.
It's like smelling coffee if you were a Peterbilt 18-wheeler.
It's gasoline. It's coffee for cars. Oh, that's dumb.
It's like Cummins engine.
Title. Favorite smell. Or if we could just put some pre-show banner at the end of the show.
It must be.
Eh.
Eh.
Keep it special.
You had to be here for it. Okay. I'm with that. Apparently, millennial bookkeeper grew up in America eating beans on toast. Well, you live in Australia, so clearly your decisions aren't correct. Just kidding. I've not had an authentic English breakfast before. I've never tried beans on toast. It's just not something I think about putting on toast.
I haven't either. I have had an authentic Irish breakfast with black sausage.
I've had
blood sausage.
Yeah. I've tried,
which I'm a big fan of.
I'm not a huge fan of blood sausage. I've tried the Irish variety. I've tried morcilla, which is the Spanish variety. I don't know. Just, it's sweet. It's off-putting to me. I'm a savory guy. I hear their tire fires are lovely.
It must be quite apparent by this time to any.
That's a good one. Yeah, it was fun. I had a fun time doing that.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was much better than last week. I mean, I'm just not sick anymore, so that goes a long way, I'm sure.
A long way. Get a lot of emails. Is John G. do all right? Is he gonna die? I actually got an email. So somebody was watching a YouTube video. Jeremy Cav, your friend, I think, right?
Jeremy Cav?
I don't want to say his full name on the internet, but he donates every now and then. His name's Jeremy, and I think you know him. Anyway, he was watching a Jeff Geerling video, and he saw MMO.show and OTO Node, which is what I have, and it was featured in one of a Meshtastic video that Jeff did. He's my neighbor. He's a tech YouTuber, and I'm not even the most famous person on my block when it comes to internet celebrity. But he saw the video, and he saw all the MMO nodes that I had, because I was obnoxious and put up like 4. So yeah. In Jeff's video, he literally lives down the street from me. When he's looking at his local mesh, all you see is OTO, MMO.show, all these different MMO H1. So it's kind of funny. Like, he makes his mesh node look really huge, what he appreciated, but it was also guerrilla marketing, which is my favorite kind of marketing. And a listener of the show saw it and said, "Oh my God, that's you guys." Eric Pepe saw it.
My energy bill dropped from.
Good for you, man. All right, so we've
got
got
who?
The guy whose energy bill dropped.
Oh.
I hear their tire fires are lovely.
It must be quite apparent.
Okay. Undecided sphere.
Yeah, the undecided sphere.
Africa. Yeah, this whole it really is a big game of Risk that we're playing, and I could see the liberals really running with that. As far as Donald Trump.
You know what I wish we had time for, and there was a really good way to do it. I wish we had a game that we could play with some people from the show, like in perpetuity, like a big grand strategy game that wouldn't get hung up if one person doesn't make their move like over 3 days, Because I feel like it would be fun to play Risk with a bunch of people from the show. But you'd have to set aside like a game night.
Or Nom's Risk bot. The only programming is that I never start in Europe, because every time I talk about Risk, I also shit talk Europe.
Yeah.
The Undecided Sphere.
You know what we could do, and it would fit the maps thing? We could, and it holds up to like 200 players. We could do a like end of the year MMO GeoGuessr party.
I thought you were gonna, when you said maps, I thought you were gonna go GeoGuessr. That is fun. Have you ever done the one where you have to guess the time period and the country or the area that it happened? There's like one.
You ever done the one where you guess people's ethnicity?
I feel like I'd be good at that. I have not.
hbd.gg. Pull it up.
hbd.gg.
Yep. Let's play the daily game right now.
Ethno-guesser. I have to like click where I think they're from.
Yeah.
Well, these people are black, so.
You doing the daily game?
Yeah.
And it's where they originated from. Where does this ethnic group originate from?
Oh, okay. They're very dark, so I'm going to assume Southern Africa. Not South Africa, that's for sure. I'm going to guess Botswana. Did you guess yet?
Yeah. My score was 42-21.
I got 920.
I guessed right outside of Lagos, Nigeria.
Yeah, I was, my gut, I was thinking Nigeria at first, but I was like, I thought it was like too topical, too top of mind.
That is funny, though.
Yeah. Wow, that's fun. Oh, I did the next round, and these people, I'm really good at Asians. These people are Vietnamese. Ooh, 5,000. Got it.
Same.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
It's a spotty one, though. Okay, you need to go?
I do need to go. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, tonight was a good one.
Yep.
Nice work. And if I don't talk to you before next Tuesday, I'll see you then.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
See ya. Bye. And goodbye, everybody. Thanks for playing along. Had a fun